The views and opinions expressed by tonight's guest and topic of discussion do not necessarily represent the official policy or position of Spaced Out Radio, Spaced Out Saturdays or Sundays, SOR Media, its hosts, syndicated carriers, or anyone associated with this broadcast. Any rebroadcast, reproduction, or other use of this broadcast or podcast without the express written consent of SOR Media is strictly prohibited. Listener discretion is advised. Are you experienced? Then come own the night with us.
Little brother has taken control, shoveling dirt in every hole. Predators to condemn your soul, watching you and watching me. We're all
stationed atop the mountains of British Columbia, live from SOR headquarters. This is Spaced Out Radio with host Dave Scott.
We live behind glass curtains and act like nothing's wrong. Soon you will belong.
You can follow us on our website, spacedoutradio.com, and on Spaced Out Radio on iTunes. You can follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, and on Instagram at Dave Scott SOR, on Facebook at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on our YouTube channel, Spaced Out Radio.
Brother wants to make headlines, be immortalized. Everyone's got an electric eye with the digital spies. They've watched you for so long. I know you're out there somewhere watching me.
Buckle up, space travelers. It's time to go for a ride on Spaced Out Radio with host Dave Scott.
I know you're out there somewhere. We've watched you for so long. Wait for you to fall. We will expose you all. I know you're out there somewhere watching me. Little brother wants to make headlines, be immortalized.
It's Friday, May 18th, Saturday, May 19th, if you're on the East Coast or across the pond. And this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. Hope you had a great day and night heading into the weekend. I am your host, Dave Scott, live from the Great White North in the Caribou region, on top of the mountains of central British Columbia, right here at SOR headquarters. We are 150,000 strong nightly on the SOR radio network, including the Fringe.fm. You can also watch us live on Periscope.tv every Monday through Friday night. And don't forget, our archives are at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me a favor, when you're over there, hit the subscribe button. I would appreciate that. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you there. You can rock out to some Bumblefoot, shop at our Spaced Out Radio store, read up on the encounter online, or watch great videos from UFO Seekers, Contact TV, and so much more. We are here. The weekend is in our sights here on the West Coast. I know many of you have already started it. I hope you're having a nice, calm down drink, relaxing, enjoying, and being a part of the SOR family. We appreciate you tuning us in because we made it through another week here on the show, and we're all glad that all of you are here tonight to hang out and close your Friday night, early Saturday morning out with us. Mary Dusina is here tonight to talk about her abilities to tap into our intuition. Yes, as Taurus starts to shift into Gemini, we're going to get into everything tonight with Mary about astrology, intuitiveness, psychic ability, spirit guides, and more. Mary has been in this field her entire life, a stint doing readings on terrestrial radio, and I have a wasp that's probably an inch long that just buzzed my face and landed on my keyboard and scared the living daylights out of me. Now, we don't normally do readings on this show, but tonight we just may get a few in. That'll be up to Mary if she wants to do it, but we are going to take your phone calls about anything intuitive tonight. You can call us at 702-302-4556. Let me repeat that number once again, 702-302-4556. Now, Mary, thank you so much for being on the show, but I am really watching this wasp right now. It's like an inch long, and it's on my it's on my keyboard right now. I'm trying to figure out the sign to this. What is the psychic sign of this wasp checking out the show tonight?
Okay, well, I love creature teacher totems or spirit animal medicine totems, if you want, because that was my start as an intuitive as a child, was Mother Nature. And astrology came later on in my teens, but I always was one with the animals, one with the creatures. So the wasp has everything to do with, like, for example, most people don't know that fig trees, people like to eat figs, but fig trees can't come to their full maturation without the female wasp actually going in to the fruit and doing her thing inside the pollination of the fig to make the fruit. And she actually kind of passes away and there becomes one with it. So people don't know that when they eat figs, they're also consuming part of the wasp DNA, I guess. So wasp has to do with, they're actually much more gentle creatures than you imagine. Now hornets, that's another story. Hornets and yellow jackets will put a hurting on you, but wasp really don't want to interact with you in a harmful way. But anything that has a stinger can go to either the sign of Aries or Scorpio for obvious reasons. Stingers are like arrows coming out of the quiver, hitting the bullseye. The stinger gets your attention. Pain is a very interesting metaphysical teacher. It's like I would have clients over the years that would say, well, I guess it took a psychic baseball bat to hit me over the head before I finally woke up to what I needed to see. And I said, well, pain is an immediate teacher. It will get your attention. So the wasp has, and it's right on your keyboard, and you're a radio guy. So you've got all this equipment. So the wasp is saying they're very prolific, in the warmer weather and in spring and summer. So my guess on it, since I happen to know you're a Gemini, is that you're coming into some new fruits from your labors, and the blossom is turning into fruit for you. And I feel like that my intuition is telling me that you're going to be more forward in your outreach socially as a speaker, maybe as a writer, maybe as both, as Geminis are, a happy student, teacher, orator. I just feel like that things are going to be, it's like I see a revolving door, and I feel like that for you, it's been 7 years in the making. And I feel like that there's going to be some new communication plug-ins. Like a stinger could also be like the plug going into the outlet. And so in electricity, the plug is called the male and the outlet is the female. And so I feel like that there are going to be some, speaking of which, there's a prolific thunderstorm going outside. So they're like, instead of a stinger, there's also a lightning strike. So if you hear background noises, audience, it's because we're having a Smoky Mountain thunderstorm here. But I feel like the stinger is that X marks the spot. You've crossed your T's and you've dotted your I's, and this wasp, I wouldn't kill it, which I don't feel you'd want to. I would, you're probably the type of person that respects life and would try to take it outside. But I feel like it's getting your attention to say, once you really see me and accept me as your new creature teacher totem, that's what the totem pole means to the First Nations people. Whatever are your totem showing up is what's supposed to, quote, grab your attention. And so you can go on all kinds of internet sites, what does WASP mean as a totem, and you'll get 10 things will pop up. You know how the internet is. Let your eyes fall upon the one that really your intuition, which is your inner schoolhouse, says, yeah, this one. Okay, I'm going to this one. Geminis do that really quick. Geminis and Sagittarius are really quick on trusting their instinct. And I feel like you're going to see exactly, instead of showing up in a dream, it showed up for you in your external dream of your 3D perceptions. But my feeling is it's a successful vibration for you. There's different kinds of wasps. There's the ones that do the multi-layered silvery kind of gray paper nest, and people collect that stuff here in the mountains. And there's the paper wasp. But it's a very intricate communication telepathic colony, wasp are. I mean, I know people study honeybees and they're wanting to protect the honeybees, but wasp is like an upgrade. I mean, wasp are like in the insect kingdom, wasp are a lot like the lightning bugs. You know, they have their own little unique telepathic connection in how they weave their own wasp nest. And so there's something about you nesting with very creative people. I feel like Geminis get bored easy. Like they love to be told a good story. They know how to tell an embellished, lively story. They know how to up the ante as far as audience appeal. But I feel like for you, like you need thrilling, stimulating people coming in your orbits right now. And you know great people, but I'm talking about the personal Dave that's like, oh, come on, engage my mind or don't look at my body parts. If I'm going to stay with you, I've got to be engaged in more of an intellectual thrill base. So I feel like this is a very good omen for you. So, and the fact that you're telling me that it's on your keyboard, again, keyboard communication.
Well, this guy is now crawling up my microphone.
Okay. And what do you do with the microphone?
Well, yeah, I know, and he is crawling up. I'm not happy about this. I put some water on my little keyboard here, so that way he could maybe get a drink or something. But he could be dehydrated. Do you have like a little Kleenex or a little? Let's all in the audience send vibes that he can just get. I usually catch him on let him walk on a piece of paper, and then I just go carry him outside. Yeah,
because if they're dehydrated, they'll just sit there like on a notepad or a piece of paper or. More than I know you can't detach your microphone, but if you've got like a comb or a brush or notes or something like that.
Yeah, he looks struggling. He looks struggling right now. I don't know how much.
He's probably hungry. He's probably hungry, and he probably needs to get out.
Yeah, we're gonna have to get him out here at the break. He's got to wait around. Oh, he crawled under my little beer fridge in here, so that's all right. But hey. He wasn't causing any troubles. No,
there's moisture there. He doesn't want to cause you trouble. I've found with totems, Dave, they're around us all the time, signs and wonders and just they create, there's always a spiritual, paranormal, supernatural billboard out there, a flashing lights that'll get our attention. The biggest one I had this year, and I'm going back in time, people. Some of you really young ones will have to go to YouTube and type in the Beverly Hillbillies. Because I was born in Tennessee and I was Ellie Mae. I mean, I could communicate with the wild creatures, and it was very odd for a female to not be afraid of spiders or snakes or any of that because females are usually the eek creatures on things like that. But I will tell you, in my top 10 paranormal animal experiences, because, there's some great stories, this year was my most riveting when I opened up the back door and there was probably a year and a half Appalachian black bear 25 feet from me. That one got my attention. And of course, since I'm taught by the Native Americans, that was just about a month ago, I said, oh, well, what are you doing? I said, well, you must be hungry because here they come out when we have a late freeze in the mountains here, and they're disoriented because the mom kicks them out at year and a half. So Ellie Mae put food up on the wall for him, and for about a week, he would let me put the food out. He would sit down just like a big old hound dog, and I gave him sunflower seeds coated with honey and peanut butter. Yeah, I'm that girl. And it was really marvelous. Sometimes people hear the word paranormal and they kind of think it's always just dark matter or scary. But this was, I got to tell you, it was fascinating. And I've had some very powerful, from copperheads to things that are indigenous to the region. I was very excited. So the wasp, yes, it's unusual. People always think it's going to be the horse or, this or that. But when you get ones that are like, okay, like with a wasp or a snake, when you're like 2 feet from a copperhead and you're barefoot, that one got my attention three years ago. So
I don't do snakes. I don't do snakes.
Snakes are to be respected. Yeah, snakes are to be respected.
No,
they're like, leave me alone.
Yeah, don't like them. Don't like them at all. But
I don't want to engage them, but they've shown up with me, and I'm just like, okay, and really, speaking of intuition, if you just freeze, they really just want to get away from you, and most people panic, and if you just freeze, and really it's a great test of communications. If you just freeze and just like, I don't wish you harm, I don't want to engage with you, let's let our world stay separate, it will, usually. They don't, a lot of people panic and move too fast and try to get a stick and kick at it or disturb it, and that's just not a smart thing. To talk about a stinger.
Snakes. No snakes whatsoever. Dave doesn't do snakes. That's just wrong.
And you don't have to.
No, not in my area. I would sooner battle the bears or the cougars than I would a snake.
Yeah, cougars would be respected too. These are fast moving. I mean, most people think big old bears, brown bears, or black bears. Those big boys can move. They can move. They can move much quicker than people give them credit for. But I really do feel that this year there's so much going on of well, you can just tell from the world news, these sudden from chaos to crisis to compassion. There's going to be a huge amount of things between May and August, Dave, that Spirit's going to hopefully give us signs and wonders. And it may seem like it's innocuous like your wasp, but you'll soon see between May and August it showed up this week, which is the most significant week of 2018. And so we really need to kind of keep a little bit of a personal journal in our notepad or our smartphones about who or what was odd or showed up during this time frame. For you, it's the wasp.
Mary, before we go any further, I want to introduce you to our audience, because that wasp kind of took us off on a whole different tangent there, to where we were. Now, you are somebody who has grown up intuitive all your life. You have done television, you have done radio, you have been very involved in the intuitive scene across the United States and clients all over the world. When did you first discover that you had this hidden lifelong talent?
I remember being 5 years old and laying out. We had, my dad worked at Oak Ridge and then went to NASA. So I didn't want to leave the country. I was that nature girl. And I remember we had a paved carport, like a concrete carport, and 5 acres behind the house and 3 acres fenced in the front. I was always outside with my dogs and animals and all of that. And I remember laying on the carport looking up at the stars. And, of course, my parents are like, okay, there's that kid. Where's the other one? And so my mother came outside, and I'm laying on my back looking up at the stars. And I remember feeling very distressed looking up at the stars. And she came out, and she goes, what are you doing? She said, it's time to go to bed. What are you doing? I remember it was like summer. And I said, I'm trying to figure out how to get back home. And she said, of course, that's not the first time I shocked my parents. And she's like, honey, like you would with a 5-year-old, this is your house. You are at home. You know how you'll address a kid. You are home. I'm your mom. Dad's in the house. Your brother's already in bed. So I don't know why you're laying out here because you're home. And I said, no, not here. Home. And this was way before E.T. movie came out, Phone Home. And she goes, okay, I'm just going to go get your dad. So not to punish me, just like she didn't want to. So Dad came out and he sat down in the swing and he said, what are you doing? And I said, Dad, I'm trying to figure out how to get back home. And he said, well, what do you mean, being an engineer? And I said, that's home. And I kept pointing up to the stars. And he said, okay. And I said, that's my real home. Those are my real brothers and sisters. And he's like, okay, because he was always that, enigmatic engineer. And so I knew then, my parents, Dad from an intellectual standpoint, and Mother and her mother were all automatic intuitives too. So Mom didn't want to engage it intellectually. Dad was fascinated by it. So I knew then at 5, and I knew then I could see the life force around creatures. And I'd get into arguments with my dad when I'm out playing in the yard, and a snake that you don't like would come into the yard, and I'd say, don't kill it. It has a family. And he's like, in the country, my name was Merlin. That's the way they would say it in the country, Merlin. Now, the snakes, if it's poisonous, it's got to go because it could bite the dogs or the kids. It's got to go. And I said, no, I'll go chase it out. It wasn't until I was 19 that one of my friends in Florida said, the way those people pronounce your name in that region, did you ever put it together that it's like, sounds like Merlin and you're an astrologer? And I said, no, not till just this moment did I figure that out. So it's just always been the synchronistic flowing. And then for Dad to be, working at the Atomic National Lab and, then getting transferred to NASA. I had the best of MUFON meetings in Florida and the whole intellectual thing. When I got into trouble with it is when I tried to mentalize the mystical. I was a natural mystic, and it didn't help to be born in Tennessee and be born on Halloween night. That didn't help at all in childhood. It was like, she's a witch. And then the other side of my family was Northern Italian, and in Tennessee we call them Mama and Papa in the region, and he would say, she has the sight. In Italy we call that a strega. And I'm like, I don't know what that is. And he said, that's a herbalist or a witch. In Italy, you've got the sight. So I had it on both sides of the family that they saw it from the European culture, and also the mountain, Appalachian mountain people saw it. They said, she sees things. Or they'd say things like, she's got 3 eyes. She's got that one on the inside working too. Or, sometimes people will say, were you born with a veil? And I wasn't. It was more than intuition though, Dave. I just knew things. And I got in trouble when I went against what my knowing was. And I often tell my clients, and even on people on radio, I would say to them, if you could just here's how you get your ego out of the way so you can really get your own psychic perception more amplified. You'll have a thought, maybe you'll have a desire, and then you'll kind of have an analysis. Maybe you'll try to categorize it. But when something happens for you, like when I saw my first UFO, I didn't care if anybody agreed with me. I didn't care if my father or the other engineer that I was with from NASA, when I saw it, right from Cape Kennedy, and I happened to be with a NASA engineer that saw it with me, and I said to Dad, I don't care if people believe me or not. I know what I saw was an unidentified flying object, and if at that age I didn't know to say, perhaps it's black ops military stuff that we have, I just said that, but I communicated with it telepathically, and I was 16. So I've not been that kind of girl that needs to have society accept me. When I have a knowing, there was no doubt in my being that I communicated with that extraterrestrial craft. So then that led me to UFO tours in Sedona and going to MUFON meetings in the west coast of Florida for decades. I went on these kind of anomalous things and met John Mack and had coffee with him right before he was writing the book Abduction. And Roger Lear and all these people. So I really plunged myself. When most people were out partying and drinking in my 20s and 30s, I was in massive seminars and conferences and traveling around the country and past life readings with Brian Weiss and, Stuart Wilde and Dick Sutphin, and really getting into, which was popular then in the 80s and 90s. It was really popular to develop your consciousness and your chakras and mindfulness and stillness. And I feel like we've lost a lot of that in the latter part of the 90s and going into the first part of the millennium. People they're too strapped. They've got their pacifiers of their technology and their smart devices, and their smart devices really are helping make them dumb with their intuitive prowess. They need to unplug a bit. And I believe that Earth is singing and screaming because our mother is telling us we need to get back in touch. We're getting I think there's too much electronic smog going into us, and electromagnetic pulses and waves and smart meters and things. I think we're just getting bombarded all the time. And look at the younger generation they're so depressed and they feel disconnected emotionally, and they can text, but they're having a hard time in social circles really interacting, and they've lost touch with a lot of the emotional skills and their intuitive skills that can develop from that I feel is a balance that we need to have. So we develop our intuition by incorporating the holistic approach, and it's not the marketing slogan, as I often say, of body, mind, spirit. That was told to me by an elder shaman. He said that's backwards. It's not the way the indigenous cultures around this world see it. If you have a fractured or a broken spirit, if something emotionally or someone has created that type of malaise within you, there's a problem. And it's going to infect your mind. It's going to affect your feelings and your emotions, and it's going to stay with you and embed in your soul's levels. And you're not going to, you can function in life, but you're not going to bounce back. You're not going to come back until you deal with the correcting of what's ill with your soul, where your spirit is fractured. It's like soul retrieval kind of work. You got to come back. You've got to, what did it? Don't keep focused on the lover that hurt you or betrayed you or disappointed you or left you. Get yourself unknotted. Get yourself unplugged from, stop giving the other person power. Because no matter what happened, we're a participant in it. We have soul contracts that we came here to work on, Dave, and each of us do. And we learn the most about ourselves through the dark night of the soul experiences. We're not going to evolve our soul. You have to be alive to evolve your soul. So you don't, you're not as a dead person. You're busy and doing other things in other places. So, it's like the Indians believe we're stars. We're stars wrapped in skin. And I remember in my teens when I heard that, it took me right back to that 5-year-old moment looking up at the stars. The UFO thing made sense. I never believed we were the most intelligent creatures in this universe. Never believed it. And I knew that we're here for a reason. Every one of us are. We all have value. We incarnate with talents. But we also have the dark night of the soul. And humans, more than animals, tend to not really learn those lessons until they go through some degree of pain or loss. It's sad, but it's true. I think that we tend to, it's from those fractures and those breaks and those hurts and those wails and those angers and those resentments that it gets our attention, Dave. It gets our attention.
It totally does.
And what starts to happen is, first we go into the, why me, Lord? And then we go into, oh gosh, this is beginning to be a repeating pattern. And we start changing actors and actresses, lovers, but the same issue starts to come up. And that's why I loved astrology, because I saw my intuition as my compass. And then when I started getting into the astrological patterns, because like psychology, it's not a hard science. It's a soft science, and there's an art to interpreting heaven on earth and the heavenly signs and wonders. And so to me, our soul portrait, our birth chart, which is just a snapshot of the heavens from the point of earth when we're born and our location, this is your star map, and it gives you insight into your challenges, where your soul wants to evolve this lifetime. It can help define some of the strengths that you came in with this incarnation, because think about it, Dave. These musical geniuses, these artistic people, these people that come in with these incredible talents that didn't necessarily come from their family of origin, they came in with it. So I believe that we have soul strengths, we have mystical aptitude, we have things that make our heart sing that we're involved with. I love media. I love radio. I love everything to do with the talk formats, because there's so many people out there, some rich, some struggling with money, that can find a way to tune in, which is why I love the name of that app, to tune in and get some kind of insight, some type of help. And that's what I loved about terrestrial stations. They could tune in Tampa, St. Pete, in Georgia, and North. They could just, they could keep their anonymity, and they could just tune in to Dave's show and all the different guests that he has, and those seeds of light, those pearls of wisdom. You can save a life and you can uplift a soul by giving these type of empowerment interviews, and you do a good job of it. And I really applaud everybody that puts investments of their time and their money in the equipment and do the things on YouTube and have their research team get these people on there, because it's, they're laying there on all these different time zones going, that's it, and you help uplift their spirit. Because I say to my clients all the time, there's only two kinds of energy: things that lift you up and things that drain you. If it's dropping you and it's draining you, it's some type of energy vampirism.
Mary, I want to hop in here for a quick second here because you hit a very sensitive topic to a lot of people on the spiritual side, and that is the younger generation.
Yes.
And the way they are way more connected than, say, your generation or my generation has been. Yet they seem a little skittish when it comes to trying to connect with their spiritual side, even though it is so much more natural to them than it ever was with our generations. Why do you think that is? Is it a social media thing? Is it a stature thing and the fear of being different? Why do you think it is?
It's given them a lot of course, I love to hand my smartphone or anything to do with the computer to a teenager going, can you get rid of this? Can you get rid of this glitch? And I think it goes back to the elders, our wisdom keepers, the tribal medicine men and women. I've never felt that just the older generation had all the answers. I knew that as a child. But I was more respectful of people. I looked at it this way. And I believe this generation is beginning to come back and see this. As I would say to my stepkids back when I was married, I said, okay, fate, call it kismet if you want to. Fate put me on the planet more years ahead of you getting here. So because my boots have been on the ground longer than you, I know some things more than you do because of experience. However, because time and invention and like you said, social media and these other things are evolving so rapidly. We really are time travelers because, you can go forward, you can go backwards in your memories, and yet those things are dimensions of aliveness with you. And my concern about the younger generation, because I always see our younger ones as the innocent lambs. And I see us, anyone that's the age enough that they could actually procreate and have children, which can encompass a wide berth of age and generations. I believe that it's our job to protect them when they're the innocent lambs, intellectually, psychologically, and not be predators at all to them, either for selfish reasons or take it as dark or as light as you want to. But I feel like that when the video games started to turn drastically violent, and there was this greed in the computer gaming industry, because when they first started, it was like years ago, decades ago, Pac-Man, and there were the, Tetras, and then there was Dungeons and Dragons. And I remember, because I wasn't a gamer, but I remember people saying, this is addictive, this is intriguing, this is like, I spent hours doing this. And I remember one of my pathology client said he loved gaming. He was a Gemini. He loved gaming. He's 20 years older than me. And he's like, I said, what are you doing? He goes, well, the life force of one of my players is getting low, so I have to feed it, and I have to let it rest. And I said, what? He said, yeah, it's like an Avatar kind of a thing. And this was way before Avatar came out, the movie. And I said, you're kidding me. And he said, no, it's like a cyber world. I said, okay. So I started realizing that there were all kinds of ages getting drawn into that pacifier. And to do it as a sidebar, like reading a magazine a long time ago, was okay, like people spending time on the internet, all right, seemed harmless. But then things started getting more dark and had a violent agenda to it. And I remember being very concerned about the levels of violence that the younger generation were putting their eyes on, and the sound waves and everything. And I feel that that's the biggest danger that's happened with them, and the access to the dark web and the lures, again, energy vampirism that's out there. And it's much harder for aunts and uncles and grandparents and parents to be able to kind of, I think they can think they're a helicopter mom or a helicopter dad, but there's a lot of sinister energy out there to want to, it seems like it always wants to go after the pure, the young, the innocent. It's like it's not enough for a man to go out and be with a woman or hire a man or hire whatever he needs to hire. Like in our society right now, you can change your gender, you can do this, you can cut off that body part, you can go do this or that. The vanity thing is just swirling everywhere. I'm confused about my gender, so I'm going to change. Oh, okay. It's still vanity, and it's still a costume. Your soul doesn't have a sex, so you're trying to do a new identification. So what are you really struggling with with what you biologically came in with. There's an issue there. It's not a judgment. It's an issue. You're fighting with yourself for some reason. And I think that's all been very confusing to a lot of the younger generation, because to me, all that's biological. If you want to take it psychologically, go take a ride. But you came in scientific. I'm more like a scientist person on that. You came in scientifically with this X and this Y chromosome is this. And I feel like all of this is it's gotten so anything goes that it's very hard for a lot of the younger generation to find an identity that works for them. They're like, it's too scattered. It's like, what am I? Who am I? Now, this may end up being that they're detached. It seems like it's going more into the AI effect. It's like, let's get everybody microchipped, and let's get bionic robots to make love to men and women. And it's not enough now. It's not enough that people accept gay. It's not enough that people accept transgender. Now they're pushing the AI and the male and female bionic robots. So you just don't have to be with humans anymore. And in my world, we incarnated as humans for a plethora of reasons, and I believe it goes more to the sinister and sometimes the pornographic, and sometimes it's an energy capture type of a thing. It's like, here, go for this machine. It's like the ghost in the machine type of thing. Go for this presence or go for this energy, and look, you can control it. No one can hurt you because it's like your AI doll. And it's just the cyber thing and the AI thing to me is an intuitive. It could go overboard very easily in scary ways. It could be fabulous.
Is all this not just the newer generation trying to find out what their new boundaries are as they look to take the world into a whole different level than what we are used to? I mean, because let's face it.
There's a piece of that.
We're all conservative one way or another. It doesn't matter politically here. We're all conservative one way or another.
And we're all liberal. I mean, we all want to be liberated spirits. I think the wild beast in us doesn't want to be caged. The true part of us wants to be a pirate, wants to be a pioneer, wants to be an explorer. We don't want society or any government to tell us what to feel, what to say, how to be. Now, I think there's that rebel with a cause in all of us, regardless of age, because time is an illusion and age is BS. It's your energy. It's your energy. And I happen to be a person that, I easily can be with a 9-year-old. They know they're safe. They know they're comfortable. And I take it from more of a medicine woman type of a thing. I'm going to be talking herbs to them. I'm going to be talking to them about how to take care of their skin. To your point, to help them with the issues of their generational age that I've walked through. Like, I don't have to worry about pimples. I don't have to worry about acne or pimples, but I can be that medicine person for them to tell them, why don't you do this and why don't you do that? And I think that, when we started having both parents working and the big explosion of divorces and everything, I believe the emotional vacuum started to happen. It's like mom and dad needed to, maybe because they wanted more stuff, maybe because of inflation, but there was a lot of they used to call them latchkey kids, or there was a lot of children that were kind of left to their own devices to find some type of entertainment or to find some type of thing to pass the time besides, when you're a kid, you don't want to come home after school all day and then have to study. You want to, and kids aren't engaging with nature as much. I do believe that pendulum is swinging back, though, Dave. I think what's going to save any generation is that they unplug, have your techno time, rock the Casbah, but get out, get out with multi-aged generational people, go eat together, leave your phones at home for that meal. You can plug back in later on. I think there needs to be the pendulum swinging more to, you came in as a human for a reason. You came in as a human for a reason. And I believe there's been too much external stimuli, and we need to go back into, everybody's looking at, I want to travel the world, and I want to do this, I want to do that, I want to go in a hot air balloon, what about your inner landscape? There's a whole archaeological dig of wonders inside of us. Why not get to know your higher self? Why not get to know the boundaries of your dark self? Why not get to understand your biorhythms and what gives you anxiety? And I mean, don't you remember? I mean, therapy and past life readings and all of this stuff and Reiki and learning your chakras and meditation. I mean, these were things that became, after being woo-woo, they became very accepted. And it helped a lot of people. I mean, it helped a lot of people with their soul retrieval and the parts of them that had gotten left in different energy vortices because of abuse or wounds or hurts. I mean, people shove this stuff down, but it doesn't go away. It doesn't go away. You've got to deal with it. Do you have to keep reliving the trauma of your childhood, or are you always going to be able to have your young child or grandchild, if you're in that category, talk to you about what's really bothering you? Them, all the stuff, the secrets they're keeping inside, they will. Even if you're older than them, they will if they feel like they're the puppy or they're the kitten that can feel safe with you. You're that protector. You're that, you're going to render an opinion, and you have a right to that, but you're not going to judge them. You're going to guide them. So I feel like that's part of the missing link. There's been too much of this, they'll figure it out, or it's like there's some kind of gap.
Right.
In the elder parents or the, not grandparent age, but in the elders of, if somebody's 9, they need a safe structure. It could be their cousin. It could be their best friend's parent. But they need that person that isn't always just disciplining them, but not afraid to say to them, you're lazy and you need to step up your self-entitled attitude. I don't like it. They need somebody to tell them the truth.
I agree with you, but you know what? In the last 25 years, if you want to take the spirituality of children, with that advantage of them learning their spirituality and staying connected, we have also taken away discipline.
Absolutely. And you know as well as
you're not even allowed. I mean, 20 years ago it was spanking is bad for a child. It's child abuse. Now you're not even allowed to scold a child. You're supposed to talk everything out with them, safe spots, everything along those lines. And
cupcakes, snowflakes,
yeah. And we are building a society of children who, I mean, let's face it, since this has happened, children battling depression and anxiety has gone
off the
up.
Chart.
Yeah, it has gone way off the charts. I believe it's something like 75% of all children. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm trying to remember the statistic. My daughter's school counselor, guidance counselor told me about this. 65-70% of all children, one way or another, between the ages of something like 10 and 18 are suffering from depression or anxiety.
And the suicide rate for the females is way up in that age category, too. I keep up on these psychological stats, just like you're mentioning.
Bipolar disorder, too?
Yep. Look at the ages of these kids that are either being radicalized for whatever side of the fence you're on or not on, and also the age of these school shooters. I mean, these are young high school or junior high aged kids that are doing these things. We used to call it in psychology acting out, and they would define that as screaming for attention, screaming for attention. So, and all the media jumps on these backstories of, now, what do we know about this person that had these bombs today in Texas and the Parkland school shooting? What do we know about, where did this kid fall through the gaps? And I've had many clients that worked for either Department of Social Services or Family Services and kids that get thrown into the system. And I've had close hand decades of watching how these kids end up with there were a lot of foster parents that just wanted to take in a bunch of kids to get the money, the state money in this country. There were pedophiles that got a hold of these foster kids because of the parents getting strung out on either street drugs or prescription drugs. And so, they were always in court. And finally the kids, the parental rights are terminated. And then these kids are either with another family member or they just get thrown. And then I remember lecturing in 2005. It was when Saturn had moved into Leo, and Leo is the sign of the child within you and I. regardless of our age, the forever child within us, the ages of innocence that are always there. What creates wonder and joy for you in your inner child? And there's a medicine wheel direction for that. It's when we enter the direction of the south. And so our inner child, we're time travelers. And I can go back to that moment at 5 years old. You can go back to some wondrous moments in your young boyhood, maybe even some scary moments in our childhood that we had to resolve or understand later on in our teens or our adult life. But the child is always alive. And with these kids, if they don't have those traumas or those wound moments helped, saved, protected, described, understood, shared, it really goes in and fractures them because they're so young that they start what I call the shame-blame game. And they're blaming themselves quietly. They're suffering over the divorce that had really nothing to do with them at that point. They haven't gone into the counseling of like you said, a school counselor or someone that can say to them, listen, people get together and people break up, and you're collateral damage in that. And it's you're going to react to that in a different way than your dad's pain or your biological mother's pain. And then we have the kids where a parent died way too young. And it's like everything's getting shoved down and they just go get on the screen again. Do I think that, all the games are bad or no, but they're now have a disorder for the kids that are spending too much time on the computer every day. And then like you said, when they go out and they play some kind of sports or they take dance or whatever, there's never a winner of the game. No, everybody's a winner. Everybody gets an award. And I shook my head and I thought, okay, maybe I'm just not getting the big picture here. I shook my head when they started having like each year of school had a big graduation ceremony. It's like, no, you graduate from elementary, you graduate from junior high, you graduate from high school, and then you graduate from college. Not every grade that you're in school. You're making too big of a pompous thing about all of this. Because the world's not going to treat the kids like that. They're not going to kiss their tail every time they think they had a big accomplishment. And then they get out in the real world and they meet, I'll walk all over you as long as I get ahead and I get the award and I get the raise. And they don't have these, whatever they call it, snowflake, cupcake, cry rooms, give me shelter type of a thing. It's just like, snap out of it. You lose, I win. There's this.
Right.
There can be a very caustic world out there.
I understand that, but the key is this newer generation, as we talk about spirituality and psychic ability, they are more connected than anything. So where do you draw the line in between the political side of what we should and should not do as parents to raise our kids to enhance their own psychic or intuitive abilities that seem to be opening up more?
I took my nieces, I took my stepkids, they went to ceremony with me. I would say to them, you want me to go to your ball game? I'm going to do that. You want me to go to your soccer game? I'm going to do that. I go to new moon ceremonies with my Native American teachers in Dade City and different places in Santa Fe and Taos, and this is something I do once a month. I'm learning the medicine wheel. It ties in with the astrological wheel, and it's like I'm connecting. This is church for me because I'm connecting our Earth Mother, which we have an Earth body, and if you want to go biblical, you're in the world, but you're not of it. Whatever you want to believe, you're only here for a time. So I said to them, I want you to come have this experience, and then we'll talk about it afterwards. I'm very interested in what you feel and what you see and which part of the four directions, the main directions, you wanted to sit in. And then you get to hear what east means versus north. And it taught them about the animals that were associated with each one of the directions. Like, did you feel the eagle of the east? Did you feel the coyote of the south? Did you sense the bear of the west? And it was about relationships. And it started to give them anchors. And it was seasonal, too. The west is autumn and the east is spring. And it started to give them anchors in life. And I watched as they moved into their teens. I watched them have like a grounding sense. I don't think the kids, I think they've got the air element and they've got all this intellectual auric atmospheric stuff. And they'll say, well, I feel this and I feel that. And I say to them, okay, I want to know if you're feeling that with feeling in your emotions, or are you thinking that instead of feeling that. You have to teach them the difference of that. How do you feel? I'm noticing a lot of if they're up to about age 10, it's wonderful how they express their feelings. They're so open and engaging. And then when I find the real struggle right now, Dave, when I'm working with clients' kids or the actual kids as an intuitive, I'm having to go in and say to them, tell me about your dreams. Let's do a meditation. Let's do a 15-minute meditation. Because they're kind of ADD, I'm going to take you on a journey, but there's no way that you can do it wrong. I just want to talk to you about what you see and maybe help you understand what you saw, and we'll discuss it after I give you my impressions of that. Are you good with that? Oh, yeah. They love that because they get to see what they see, and then they have someone interpret that for them. They love hearing about their signs. They love going out and looking at the stars. You got to get them outside to see the lightning bugs in the mountains or the dragonflies when they emerge on the lake. And then I tell them, tell me what's the first thing you see. We're going to go take a walk around the lake, and you tell me the first creature in nature that catches your eyes. Is it the snake swimming across the water there? Sorry, Dave. Is it the frogs that you hear? Is it a particular color of a bird? And then because I've done decades of training on that, I'm going to tell you what that means. Oh, they love that. Then they're out in nature, and they're just, listen, now don't force seeing something, just what catches your attention. And then there was a teenage guy who was about 13 or 14. He came over to mow the yard, and of course, I feed the crows. I understand what the crow totem is. And his first instinct, it was interesting. His first instinct was, oh, there's some crows. I need to bring my BB gun, or I need to bring my gun next time I come over. I looked at him and I said, you're not killing anything over here. And he looked at me funny, and I said, oh, listen to my boundary very carefully. I like animals. Of course, the Italian came out, and I said, look at my face. I like animals better than most people I've ever met. Don't ever, in my presence, injure deliberately or be cruel to a creature. If you do that in my presence, I'm going to return the favor. I don't care how big your daddy is. I don't care who your mommy is or isn't. If you come to my vortex, if you come to my space and you think you're going to shoot a crow, kill a raccoon, maim a possum, it's not happening. I said, if I ever see you grab my dog's tail the wrong way or hurt my cats, I said, I'm going to return the favor to you. And I'm a psychic, and I'll know how to really amp the pain up for you. Because obviously you need that medicine. And then they'll go, oh. And I'm like, why is your first instinct, because you saw a crow or a blue jay, to hurt it or kill it? Where does that come from? And then we talk about it. But first I return the fire. First I'm just like, oh, we're going to go there? Okay. And most of the time the mothers are like, okay, she told him. Because like you said, they won't. The school won't. You're not allowed to. But I say to them, you're in my place. This is my place, my little neck of the woods. So you're not, what you do at your place, I don't have anything to say about it. But you come over here telling me you're going to do this or that, you're way out of bounds, buddy. And it's like the next time I saw that guy, he was very open, that 13-year-old, very engaging. There was a level of boundary and trust that had happened. And I said to him, he said something about, well, can I go fish? I said, no, I feed the fish there. I said, I feed them there. Now, you can go down the other end of the dam and you can fish, and because you can take your luck. If fate wants to give you a fish, that's your business down there, but not at this vortex. This is an animal preserve area here. I'm the mystic of the woods. Every being and creature is safe here. I said, so now you can go down 100, 200 feet down there and go fish, or you can, I said, but you're not going to, in my presence, anywhere around here, you're not going to kill a crow or hurt an animal. It's not going to happen. You can go with me and we'll rescue a dog on the road. You can go with me. You go with me to the animal shelter and let's go walk some dogs that are in cages. You need to see those dogs in cages, hoping every day that they get to go home. I volunteered that. You can go with me. I'll get a kid to engage in that. I did that with my stepkids. I said to them, no, we're going to go volunteer at the shelter. That's what we're going to go do. You didn't do your chores today. You didn't clean up your rooms. Go with me. And we're going to do some cat litter and we're going to walk some dogs. And a lot of them were afraid at first to walk a German Shepherd or a pit bull, but I helped guide them through that. So again, like you're saying, if we can give them, because, kids and teenagers, they're so hungry and so curious and a little scared to try new things like that. So if I have a confidence around dogs, And I can take away their fear of big old dogs by putting myself out there in between them and the dog, and if the dog was going to bite anybody, it's me. So if I can show them the warrior side that I've got, if I can show them the lion in me and say to them, and I watch, I'm going to quietly win this dog's trust. I mean, they're fascinating. You know, they're just standing there in awe over the whole thing. And I said, you have to use your inner light, your inner energy. Animals are sensing you. They're sensing your energy. If they sense that you're a threat, I teach them not to look at a wild animal right in the face or a dog. You know, I said, they don't know what you're going to do. Humans are usually mean or too rough to animals, so let them sense you. Let them smell you. Don't reach down to a strange dog. You're going to get bit. So I try to give them life skills like that. And let me tell you, the teenage boys, when they see me go right up and break up a dog fight, or they see me, you know, in your case, they see a snake and they're jumping, and I'm just like, no, just go to the left of it. Just it doesn't want to engage with you. Just go this way. They're like, it's swimming right over here, Mary. It's swimming. I said, just walk away. Just walk away. It's trying to eat or something. I don't care. I don't want to engage the snake, but don't go put a stick in the water. But, you know, I had those things happen to me. I was a land surveyor in my teens in Florida, and so
I'm going to get you, Mary, I got to cut you off right there, my dear, because we're right against the break here, so we could continue on right after this. Mary Dusina is our guest tonight. We are talking everything from astrology to psychic intuition and so much more and everything in between. Mary's website, marydusina.com. Dusina spelled D-U-S-I-N-A. marydusina.com. You're listening to Spaced Out Radio. I'm your host, Dave Scott. We'll be back right after this.
Find your escape where time has no limits. It's about living today and cherishing the heritage of yesterday. A spirit of adventure for what is new, with the nostalgia of the past. Your timepiece is a reflection of who you are. Life surrounded by beauty from the world around us to the soul within. EscapeWatches.com. There is no time like the present to enjoy your escape. Use promo code SMF2017 for your 20% discount today.
The freedom to post what you want, when you want. That's the social media freedom you need. Social Media Freedom is the free app in your app store. No need to worry about going to jail or being shadow banned any longer. It's the freedom to say what you feel. The freedom to know Big Brother isn't watching. It's the way social media is supposed to be. Social Media Freedom. It's time to set yourself free. Download from your app store today.
Coming September 28th to the 30th, it's our first annual Caribou Paracon, put on by Spaced Out Radio and the Canadian Society of Questers. 3 days of paranormal, supernatural, and spiritual knowledge in the beautiful 108 Mile Ranch, British Columbia. Tickets are $150 Canadian for the event, being held at the Spruce Hills Resort and Spa. Come watch our featured speaker, Grant Cameron, along with Lorian Fenton, David Weatherly, Ross Allison, and more. The Caribou Paracon, celebrating everything paranormal.
Hey Space Travelers, it's Joe Roop, your host of Spaced Out Saturdays. Come join me as we explore the realms of the paranormal, the esoteric, and everything in between every Saturday night at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern. You know the truth is out there. Don't get caught sleepwalking. Come join Spaced Out Saturdays. That's every Saturday night, 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, right here on SpacedOutRadio.com.
Hi there, this is Tessa Nicole Thomas, and I'm going to take you for a ride every Sunday night on Spaced Out Sundays. I'm going to set up your week with some strange tales from across North America, from psychic readings, Sasquatch, UFOs, to the most haunted locations. Come join me at SpacedOutRadio.com starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, and let's get weird together. I'd love for you to join me. Spaced Out Sundays at SpacedOutRadio.com.
365 days a year, we're in the field, investigating UFO sightings, talking to alien abductees, and visiting secret military locations like Area 51. We're UFO Seekers, official partner of Spaced Out Radio. Follow our daily search for the truth at ufoseekers.com or like us on social media. Catch us on Spaced Out Radio every third Monday of the month as we discuss Area 51, UFOs, and more. And also, don't forget to subscribe to us on YouTube.
It's paranormal news at its finest. Welcome to The Encounter. at spacedoutradio.com. The Encounter online is SOR's trusted news source for everything weird and strange going on around the world. This is news editor Eric Markham. Our team of journalists are scouring the planet for those strange stories that rarely make the mainstream. No fear-mongering or fake news here. Head over to spacedoutradio.com and encounter the Encounter.
Heading to Vancouver and looking for some great nightlife? The Moose Vancouver is the place to be. Catch a game on one of the big screens or just come rock out to your favorite 80s and 90s hair bands. Great food starting at $6.95. The Moose Vancouver is open until 2 a.m. nightly. It's easy to find near the corner of Nelson and Granville. The Moose Vancouver is the official rocking bar of Spaced Out Radio.
Want to learn more about aliens, cover-ups, conspiracies, cryptids, and the paranormal? All you have to do is tune in S4 as we take over the Spaced Out Radio night, starting at midnight Pacific, 3 a.m. Eastern, each and every Saturday night, right after Spaced Out Saturdays. Hi there, this is Eric Cooper from Forest Moon Paranormal. Join me, Corey Ruiz, and friends as we discuss the hot topics of the night. It's fun, entertaining, and as dark as the night. Find us at spacedoutradio.com.
Are you interested in advertising on Spaced Out Radio? Head to our website at spacedoutradio.com and click on our advertising tab. There, you will find an assortment of ways you can get your product out there with us, from radio commercials to banners and social media. Have a product you like our hosts to endorse? We can do that too. Visit spacedoutradio.com for more details.
Do you want to know what's really going on in your world? Do you have questions about who you can trust in the mainstream media? Then look no further than the Rebel Planet. Come get the straight answers right here at spacedoutradio.com. Join me, Jamie Sexton, creator of Rebel Planet News, as I fill you in on the stories behind the stories. All you truth seekers, be sure to tune in to Rebel Planet on spacedoutradio.com the third Thursday of every month.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
The views and opinions expressed by tonight's guest and topic of discussion do not necessarily represent the official policy or position of Spaced Out Radio, Spaced Out Weekend, Spaced Out Radio Limited, its hosts, syndicated carriers, or anyone associated with this broadcast. Would you like to connect with us? Head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. And hit us up on Twitter using the hashtag Spaced Out Radio. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
Welcome back to the second hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott. Great to have you with us. Tomorrow night and Sunday, the weekend crew is in the SOR headquarters while I am off into the wilderness to find my Zen and my Chi. Literally, I'm actually leaving home this weekend, going away. Weird. Never happens on a long weekend for old Davey, but it is this weekend. Joe Roop, Spaced Out Saturdays. Tessa Nicole Thomas, Spaced Out Sundays. They get going at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern Time at spacedoutradio.com. We welcome in everyone listening in on the SOR radio network, including the Fringe.fm. We say hello to everybody watching in on Periscope.tv right now. That is really cool to have a full house in there tonight. And if you're looking for our archives, all our shows go on about 10 minutes after we're done, 10, 15 minutes. You go to youtube.com youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. That's youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Hit the subscribe button while you're there, if you don't mind. I would appreciate that. Bill Cardwell has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Plimp Plamp Pleterin. Plimp Plamp Pleterin is your password. Nobody really knows what that is, but Bill sets a password each and every night right here on the mighty SOR. Now, if you want to check out our website, spacedoutradio.com, we have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to some Bumblefoot, shop at our Spaced Out Radio store, read up on the encounter online, or watch great videos from UFO Seekers, Contact TV, and so much more. Psychic intuitive Mary Dusina is joining us tonight on Spaced Out Radio, talking everything about the supernatural phenomenon of intuition. Mary's website, marydusina.com. Dusina is spelled D-U-S-I-N-A. Mary, welcome back.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for the privilege of addressing your audience and sending some wonderful restorative healing vibes to the work you do, all the people that support you, and the people out there listening. I love the airwaves. I've got Aquarius in my chart, so Aquarius and Gemini and Libra, those are the air signs. So it's delicious for them to have invigorating conversations where an Aries or a Leo or a Sag might want to debate your point because they're fiery. You know, they've got to get all fired up. They're fired up with the desire principle. But the air signs are like, that's an interesting concept. Oh, that took me back to a memory. Or how do I release that out of my mind? You see, where a Gemini, a heavy Aquarian, or a Libra will be caught up in the world of thoughts, they're psychic storms. Everybody has to go through these psychic storms. And an air sign's psychic storms is in the lightning or the enlightenment of their mind and their memories. And they try to kind of avoid the emotional impacts of some difficult things that happen to them. They tend to say, well, that's not here in my life anymore. I don't want to go back there. I don't want to think about that. It hurts. And so for a Gemini or an Aquarius or a Libra, I'll say to them, one of the meditations I just did on our Buddha moon, there are 3 ascended master moons that I pay attention to every year because of my shamanic training. And this is the ascended masters training, not necessarily First Nations ceremonies. But the full moon of Libra, the full moon of Scorpio, and the full moon of Sagittarius, these are the ascended master moons. Well, the one at Passover Easter that changes dates every year, that's the Libra one. And that's about forgiving yourself and granting yourself supernatural mercy and favor. And this is the things that maybe we were involved with, or that we did out of our innocent ignorance that we're not proud of. We wish we hadn't done. We inflicted harm or allowed harm to be done in our presence. So when you're at that Passover Christos full moon, it's a good time for you just to release any embedded pain, shame, blame. The next one, my favorite one, is the Buddha moon, the festival of Wesak, W-E-S-A-K, or over in the Himalayas, Vesak, V-E-S-A-K. And this has to do with the ascended master principles of letting go of attachments. And on that moon, like this time this year when I was having my Appalachian black bear experience, as he walked down the driveway in my outdoor meditation from 12 to 1 and sat there and looked at me like the hound dog, I was up on the upper deck, and I just said to my deeper unconscious mind, I said, I want to let anything come up in this stillness with this candle lit over the whole timeline life review, which is paranormal, because it's very supernatural, because you're going back whatever biological age you are. You're there alone, you know you're safe, you're out with the wonderful Earth Mother under the star, the nations of stars, the river of stars, and you allow in your very safe zone your inner child, your higher self, your adult self to go back and let just things pop up spontaneously out of your subconscious, out of your cellular memories, and it starts to pop up, and I simply quietly said, I remember, I release this, I am restored. So it's like the 3 R's got a little change there. But see, it's school. You know, it's like you're forever, like I attended to do the work. You know, I sat down. I say to people all the time, if you want your angels and your divine guides and your spirit guides and the guides of light to talk to you, you can't be multitasking all the time. You can't like be on your smartphone and vacuum and text somebody and say, damn it, I didn't get my guides to come through tonight. Now there are mediums that can do all that. Absolutely. Thank you. But If you really want to go deep with the messages and you want to really have a paranormal experience and really go into the richness and the layers of why you had certain encounters or situations, then you want to just get quiet. And instead of, like they say, petitioning in prayer, expecting something, or God, Goddess, I want this, or Buddha or Christ or whatever, I want this. Instead, you just go into the quiet mindfulness, which I think is missing for a lot of the 27 and under generation. Go into that silence and then just say, this meditation is about deep, visionary listening. Eyes that will see, ears that will hear. But your angels and your guides and your guardian elders and the ancestors, they come through in dream symbols and visions. And, you want paranormal, it'll get real deep if you'll just let yourself go into the stillness. And now with YouTube, Dave, you can go in there and you can type, all this stuff used to cost big money. You can go in and you can type past life regression meditation, or sound healing frequency meditation, or Reiki music meditation. And for whatever you're paying for your internet service anyway, if you'll discipline yourself, and there'll be one they've got them for 2 hours, 15 minutes. You can sit down with Velodo or Denise Lynn or Brian Weiss, and you can do like these self-hypnosis guided journeys that you would go and pay somebody upwards of $150 or $300 to do that 2-hour seminar. And nowadays you have the ability to do it because they've so generously put their books or their teachings online on YouTube, and you can actually go to these experts and sit down and do this. But I say to people, why don't you do that? I say it to my clients all the time. Do you realize in this day and time, the beautiful thing about your smartphone and your notepad and your laptop is you can actually just put it on and lay down on the couch and take a power meditation for 20 minutes that people drove across town, or I did, went and paid, for seminars with all these people to go see them in person, Wayne Dyers and Greg Braden's and Bruce Lipton and all the Louise Hay conferences, which were fabulous, or travel out to Taos and Santa Fe and California and go on all these excursions to see these really pioneer giants in their field of education to help you get into your higher consciousness. And I said, you can do this in your home. Why aren't you? Tell me why you're not doing it. It's like so affordable now. And I believe you hit on an important link, Dave, because when I do sessions, whether it's shamanic, holistic meditations, or I'm doing someone's 6-month celestial weather forecast for them, I say whether I'm doing that or whichever way they're wanting it, right, left brain, whatever it is, there's that emotional, psychic, auric engagement. Our energies are telepathic, like you and I when we talk to the audience, or when you're answering, on your websites and things to people, even though we're texting or typing or responding online, that's still your finger, it's still your audio, it's still your email, it's still an energy signature coming off of your electromagnetic frequencies. And it's about energy. It's always about energy. When we leave this world, I'm going to be remembered by my actions, by my works you shall know me kind of a thing. As I have disciplined and made and formed and molded myself to be a conscious person of both strengths, boundaries, kindness, and compassion and mercy. And when money gets tight for people, I say to them all the time, go give more. If you don't have money, give more smiles. Get up. Open the door for somebody. Go do a random act of kindness. Just go volunteer somewhere if you don't have money. Just go do something to where you're actually engaging your energy, because it starts that paranormal flow, that supernatural flow. The law of attraction is what you're giving out, and what you're believing in. What you're believing in is what you're going to see. It's not seeing is believing. It's what you're believing is what you're going to see. And they've kind of got that a little backwards out there in the affirmation world. So, but we have to deal with our own quagmires. We have to deal with our own darkness. We have to face, I think the scary side of the paranormal psychic world is that it's indeed true. There are, just like there's lightning storms and tornadoes and lava eruptions in Hawaii and plane crashes, there are psychic weather storms. Now, the reason I love astrology is it's more, I can look at that X-ray, that star X-ray, and I'm like, okay, I can tell this person when their next dark night of the soul is coming. Now, is that a hard-based prediction that's going to happen no matter what? Absolutely not. If I tell them about it, then Dave can jump right in and go, okay, Mary said in 2017 when that great solar eclipse happened on August the 21st in Leo, and it hadn't happened for close to 100 years, and I have Leo in my chart. So it lit up all of the Leo in all of our charts. But let's say you have really strong Leo, like you have your Aquarius moon, and let's say your rising sign is Leo. It triggered Leo in Aquarius until 2019. So when I lectured up in North Georgia and over in North Carolina and in Tennessee, when I lectured, I said, okay, people, the eclipses from 2017, starting in February, until 2019, until we shift, these eclipses haven't happened for 19 years. So all of us, wherever we have Leo and Aquarius in our birth portrait, our soul portrait, all of us right now for those 18 months, the Leo and the Aquarius is what's getting lit up by the solar and lunar eclipses. So that's just a fact. That's just what's getting illuminated by both Grandmother Moon and Father Sun. So this is the area of our life that we're supposed to be learning from those patterns. And Leo rules the heart and the back, the heart chakra and the back. Why the back? Because it's the back door of the heart chakra. And Aquarius rules the circulation. So since 2017, especially Leos and Aquariuses, but all of us, we've had to look at where's my mojo flowing, circulation? Where do I feel like my life is flowing pretty good? And where do I feel like I've got plaque built up in my highways and my byways of my mind, my trust, my humbleness, my ability? I mean, I can't tell you how many clients I have that say, okay, my husband cheated on me, or my boyfriend lied to me, or she's a narcissist. I'm never trusting a man or a woman again. And I'm like, that's a pretty dire statement. You know what Spirit's going to send you? It's going to send you a relationship to where they need to know they can trust you. Because you just guillotined that in your life. You just absolutely guillotined that, and you put so much emotion into that because of your wound that's exactly what's going to come towards you. And you're going to keep sliding.
Is this where these psychic knots kind of come in to play?
Yes, sir. Yeah, psychic knots, emotional cords, and again, what we mentioned in the first hour, soul retrieval. Little bits of our energy, if we've been wronged or we wronged someone, we stole a little bit of their energy that we, listen, we got to clean that up too. If we were the one, through ignorance or innocence, it happens. If we were the one that, kind of just used that person because we really didn't want to be alone when we were 29 and we wanted to go to the prom with them, or whatever it was, and if we just took advantage and there's a difference now. If we knew that we were hurting them and we did it anyway, then that's my job or your job to clean that up. Now, does that mean you have to actually go to that person that's, 10 years ago or 20 years ago? Not necessarily. But in your meditations and your prayers, in your ceremonies, in your silent soul healing, yes, you send them light. You say to them, it's like in the Hawaiian, they call it the Ho'oponopono, and it's like, please forgive me. I'm sorry, forgive me. And it's the Hawaiian shamans will teach that. It's got to do with, like I just told you on the Buddha moon, I remember, I release this, I am restored, and I restore you. So that person on some telepathic level, on a supernatural psychic level, I sent them light. I cleaned it up. I'm not doing it because Mary needs to have a pat on the back or I'm not in some denial thing. I really took the time and I cleaned it up, even if the person did me wrong. I don't want to have a cord attached to that person that you just mentioned. I don't want there to be a vampirical feed line into my aura. So if there's people in our lives that when we think of them, you think, why, you SOB, and how dare you? Now, I may choose to be away from them because they're dangerous types of personalities. The narcissist, the sociopath. I may send them healing and light, but I'm not going to let them get near me. I am a warrior. You learn that there's, if you keep letting energy vampires and abusers around you, then that's crowding up your situation to where you can't have those people that are balanced and better for Dave or better for, Sally or Tom or whatever it is. Dale wants to have a good relationship. So then Dale, while he's not in a relationship, Dale or Sally sit down and they do a soulmate twin flame meditation to where they say, I'm willing to be my authentic self. I'm not going to present anything other than who I really need to be, how I really want to love, express what I really like sexually and sensually, and what I don't. I'm really not going to go into this as a control freak or a people pleaser. I'm really going to start the next dating, mating situation with who I really am. Then you really know if it's compatible or not. But so many people don't do that. They want to win the game instead of being authentic. Does that make sense?
Happens all the time. That's the way society is because, don't forget, we've built up personalities with social media, and that's who people think we are. I want to get to some audience questions here because we always have them kind of lining up. Earlier on in hour number 1, Destry in the Spreaker chat room was asking about tarot cards and what your definition of the 10 of Wands would be.
Okay, in the Oracle Tarot, let me address this so it's a broad brush for everybody. The tarot cards, the oracle cards, the wands have to do with the season of autumn and the element of fire. And the 10s, before you go into the court cards, the 10s have to do with the completion of the suit. Like you go into court cards, like, the Jack, Queen, King, Ace, or the Knight in the tarot. Because I read playing cards, too. I know how to do that. I've done that at plenty of card parties. The 10 of Wands, to me, is you finally completed a vision quest. You finally completed what you needed to carry. It's like chop wood, carry water. In the image of the card, often the person is carrying the 10 wands, these freshly cut stalks. Remember, they're magic wands. And they're carrying them back to a home or a castle. It's like, is he going to use them for firewood, or are they going to just, build some other area on most of the tarot cards are the old ones that I learned when were medieval or Renaissance. And so it's got to do with a mission completed. So whether it's the 10 of Swords and you're at the maximum of frustration, or the 10 of Cups, you're in elation and pleasure and it's an abundance and a wonderful destiny kiss, or it's the 10 of Pentacles and that's extra money above and beyond what you make. The 10s, it's a 1 and a 0, so it's still a beginning in numerology. The 10s have to do with, I have got to the zenith or the top of this suit in the tarot. Now, the wands have to do with fire signs. So the person might encounter the release of this vision quest or this soul journey through an Aries, a Leo, or a Sagittarius, and or those kind of vibrations could be happening for them either from last autumn into a mystic, no matter where you live in the world, to a mystic when autumn actually begins in your northern or southern hemisphere. That's what would autumn in your hemisphere would tie into the wands, as I learned it. The cups or the hearts are spring, and the pentacles are winter, wherever you live, and the wands have to do with autumn, and the swords have to do with summer. And so I feel like for this person in the chat room's question, I see a big burden being lifted off of them, like some kind of vision quest, a lot of complications, maybe they carried someone else's burden for them, or they did too much, or they're very empathic. They're a nurturing type of person, and they wanted to help lighten the load, so to speak. He ain't heavy, he's my brother. They wanted to kind of lighten the load for someone that they cared about. Perhaps they helped financially. Perhaps they gave a soft spot for someone to land that went through a difficult type of thing. This is encompassing. And the 10 could be they've been dealing with an issue for 10 weeks or since October of 2017, or the 10th, and or the blessing way could come in the 10th month of this year, which would be October of 2018. But the 10s they're very powerful. They're tied in with in the tarot, the ace is the 1. So I would say to them, also look to the aces. And the Ace of Wands would have to do with a very valuable piece of news or an awakening and a new way to see something. It's like an aha moment, an epiphany. That goes with the wands.
All right, let's get to more questions here. This one coming from Aaron in Periscope. He is asking, I'm thinking about taking a closer look into the tarot cards. What would you suggest how to learn more and a first deck to get?
I'm a traditionalist. There's a deck of everything out there now. I really like the Rider-Waite decks, the Morgan Greer decks. So you can start to really have, instead of the cat tarot or the witch's tarot or the animal tarot, start getting your foundation of your elements. So if you've got, and he could learn with playing cards, but if you can go on the internet, you can go on Pinterest, you can go on YouTube. Now I got to tell you, there's a lot of. I heard one of your co-hosts, Joseph Roop, said something really funny. It's like he didn't use the word wannabes, but he's like everybody's a psychic, everybody's a. So you've got to understand that just because someone's on YouTube or has a website doesn't mean that they're like the end-all be-all expert on this. There's some great books out there that I learned with Eden Gray and I learned with the Rider-Waite deck because I really wanted to embrace the symbols on the cards. But if you can get the core level of which suit is tied with the playing card, when you can really get under your belt that pentacles are the diamonds and cups are the hearts and swords are the spades and wands are the clubs, you can read playing cards and you can read oracle cards. And then you learn your elements. You learn that obviously if it's cup, it's going to have to do with fluids, emotions. The cup is, we're often toasting or drinking or quenching our thirst. I like the Rider-Waite deck. I like Morgan Greer. The Hanson Roberts deck is a nice deck. These are very affordable decks that you can get. You can go online actually, and you can. Now, something I do like about YouTube is they have these different people that own bookstores, and they'll do like a review of the top 10 tarot decks, and that's going to be like you said about teenagers and kids, the decks that are popular for this 10-year segment versus 20 years ago or 30 years ago. I'm a traditionalist because I wanted to learn the symbols. I wanted to learn the numerology. I wanted to learn how they tied into playing cards, and I wanted to tie it into astrology. So I can go into any room, and I could say, go get a deck of playing cards or go get your tarot cards. And just, you shuffle them, keep them face down, pull out 2 cards. I can read someone's archetypal signs without looking at their whole chart because I've got 35 years into this. And so there's a difference between when you're new, just don't get haughty and don't get self-entitled because it's that rich experience of always being happy. Do I know everything about the tarot? No. Do I know everything about astrology? No. But I'm happy to keep learning. And you'll start to see the patterns, and you'll start to see that as you stay humble and excited about how you're helping yourself and other people. First thing I was told when I was 14, and I was in Cocoa Beach, and I was dating, friends with a bunch of surfers, and I walked into a beach store, and I saw this Rider-Waite tarot deck there, and I went, tarot cards like that, and I was having like a moment of recognition, and the shop guy said, you said that exactly the way it's supposed to be said. And I'm like, what? And he said, everybody says tarot. They pronounce the T. And he said, I believe you're supposed to have those. And I'm like, I'm very intrigued by those. And I was there with my boy. He just gave them to me. He said, no, you need to have these. I still have that deck. I don't read that deck for people anymore. That's the deck just for me. The second thing I was told by an English divination expert was that most people can't do their own cards. And I said, why? And she said, because they're too subjective. They're too close to the subject. They want to manipulate the reading. So I studied tarot, starting at 14, for 10 years before I read for anybody. Because in my mind, as a Scorpio, I said, if I can't get those to work for me, and that's what I keep hearing, oh, you can't read your own cards, somebody else says. If I can't get a rhythm going where those are forecasting me and helping me with my subconscious, then I don't have a right to read for anybody else. I've got to conquer what's not usually doable. And I'll never teach them until I can get them to work for me. So I would say start there. Start, getting your deck and start conquering that. Get them, just pick 3 cards. You don't have to do the Celtic cross, or you don't have to do 7 cards. I like the 3 card when I have people start learning the tarot, because I'll say past, present, immediate future. You're going to pick 3 cards face down. Know that the one on the left has to do with the past, or what you need to let go of, or what you need to know. The center card will be what at present has got you all tangled up or knotted up, to use Dave's term. Where are you working against yourself? What might you release? And then the immediate future card is what you can embrace and what you can aspire to. And so if, let's say, that immediate future card's a rough one, then the timing might just be off. It doesn't mean a bad outcome has to happen, or that you cheat and reshuffle the cards and try to get a different answer. Did I do that in my teens? Yeah. So, we have to laugh at ourselves, but it taught me to have to read for myself first before I ever read for anybody else. It taught me how I was getting in my own way, how I was being I needed to know that. And so it granted me strong confidence in being able to teach that to other people, or to do an oracle card reading with someone.
All right.
Because
Go ahead.
I just had to get me out of the way. And we often have to get our own self out of the way.
I have another question, actually a pair of questions from Vivian up in Edmonton. She is asking, is it dangerous to read tarot for yourself then?
I wouldn't say dangerous. Okay, I will tell you that I had experiences being a natural psychic when I was a child, when my friends would come around and say, I got a Ouija board. Like I loved the little magic 8-ball. I hated the Ouija board because I would wake up at like 9 years old and there were like spirits at the end of my bed, and I would say to them, get out. You want to talk to me? They always pestered me. You want to talk to me? You come in the daytime because I need to sleep. I got to go to school tomorrow. But I didn't like these things at the end of my bed. So I believe that when you're getting into, I like tarot better than Ouija boards. Now, there are people that love Ouija boards. There are people that love seances. I've done all these things. I've cleared houses. I've done exorcisms. I wanted to get my footprint in a lot of these different things so I could see where my niche was and where I was like, no, hell no. So was I powerful enough with all the Scorpio in my chart to do exorcisms? Oh, yeah, bring it, demon. Yeah, watch this. Do I advocate that people go and do that? No, because you'll clear the place and it might come home with you. So if to answer her question, if she's edgy or a bit afraid of divination arts, whether it's tarot or ruins or bones or whatever she wants to, whatever she's drawn to, she should go with. But I would say that the first thing that my elder teachers in the ceremonial thing, the First Nations people, teach you is never, ever give your power away. So do those tarot cards have control over me? No. Does my astrological chart and my actual forecast control me? No. If Dave's given me a weather forecast and he says, okay, look, I'm looking at the sky, and we are going to have torrential rains, potential flooding in this area here over the next 3 days. Now, if I ignore that, I might get stuck out with my car. Did Dave dominate me? Did the weather dominate me? No, but I didn't pay attention to the signs and respect what was going on. That can happen with psychic weather, too. If she is going through a real difficult time in her life, I don't think it's a time for you to try to be your own medium, get a Ouija board, or do a seance, because you haven't cleared your own energies. You always want to embrace your aura, clear your chakras, and put on some type of protective, paranormal, supernatural framework around you. What you know works for you, not what somebody else told you. My little Tennessee mountain mama at 9 years old told me, now you listen to me, Merlin, there's 2 types of things in this world, demons and angels, light and dark. And God gives everybody free will. At some point, you're going to have temptation, you're going to have the dark, and you're going to have the light try to talk to you and get your attention. That's fine. You've been given free will. But at some point, you've got to choose. At some point, you've got to pledge allegiance to the light or the dark. And she said, and once you pledge allegiance to the light, the dark's going to get really angry. And it's going to try to, in my world, eclipse you. So you have to learn to use that intuition in her own instinct, which she has. This is a good time for me to do this. Or is my intuition saying, I'm going to get a deck and I'm going to wait a while? Or I'm a Pisces, so I'm really strong in July and March and November, so that's when I'm going to try to read my own cards. Pick it when the signs are favorable for you. You know, like pick the full moon that's in your sign. You know, like pick the full moon in March or pick the full moon in September if you're a Pisces or a Virgo. And that should be, you know, try to set it up that that's the first night that you open up your tarot and you put the golden and the white light around it or the archangel that you love or the Holy Ghost or whatever works for you. But do that shield and seal of light because, again, what's that doing? You're commanding a type of energy around you. And I believe that infuses a paper deck of cards. Do the cards have control over us? No. But it's the spirit. It's the essence. It's like alcohol used to be called spirits. It still is in Europe. So it's the energy. It's the spirits. It's the, you know that. You can walk into a mall. You can walk into a store. And you can see people that you don't know, and all of a sudden your little psychic hairs go up, and it's just like, I do not want to engage that person. Someone else could talk to you, and you're fine with them. Fine with them. Don't have any kind of problem at all. So I think we have to regain in society nowadays. We need to regain trusting our, and I'm going to say it this way, our creature animal instincts, because we are electromagnetic, biochemical frequency creatures. It's what we are. We're wrapped in skin and bones and muscles while we walk this earth. But whatever you choose to believe is your business, but we are fashioned from somewhere else, and we may travel to other planets, we may go to other galaxies, we may, as a soul, just go into other kinds of developing things. But we need to trust our instinct. It's that inner part of us that goes, no. See, I say to my clients all the time, first rule, stop second-guessing your first insight. Stop it. Start right there with your psychic development. Stop going against the inner part of you that goes, no. Even though it's an attractive woman or an attractive man, if all the alarms are going off inside of you and you just want to hook up with that person, then okay, fine. But even after that, is your intuition going, nope, you may be having a prophecy about what's going to happen with that relationship or that person 3 months, 6 months, 6 years down the road. So it's not that you're judging them. It's that I don't think my frequencies match. I'm just kind of caught up in the moment. And I think tarot and astrology and a good therapist, a good minister or rabbi or shaman or medicine woman or man, they help you help yourself. I think that's what's got to come back in for people. Where is your harbor? Where's your safe harbor? What anchors you? Where's that great yoga teacher or therapist or a relative? Or where's your go-to place that when you get all tangled up, that you know you can trust that person enough, trust that advisor enough, that they'll, number one, tell you like it is and not tell you what you want to hear. Oh, Lord, did I see that in the psychic world for a while when I was doing radio? They either scared the fire out of people so that people would keep coming back and pay their $100 an hour, or they projected something 5 years ahead about their marriage or their kid that, again, bothered them on a subconscious level, and they'd have to keep coming back to say, does it look any better now? Does it look any better now? And I exposed that on the radio. No, that's not fair. That's really manipulating the practice. Or they told them what they wanted to hear. So no matter what was going on in their life, oh no, it's like mirror, mirror on the wall kind of a thing. Who's the fairest of them all? And oh, you, my dear queen, you, my dear queen. So you have to be able to be a strong enough person to be very authentic and genuine with your clients to say, look, I know you really want this. I could be wrong. I'm not seeing this in your chart for the next 3 months. I'm seeing it for September. Well, that's a long time. I hate to, I'm not blowing the fairy dust. It's not happening. I'm happy to be wrong. I hope you can manifest this quicker than September of 2019, but you're asking me my expertise level, and this is when the signs favor you. So make it happen before then. I'll be happy for you. So you can't let your clients or your own desires cloud your intuition. There's a difference between projecting your energy and perceiving the what is. Big difference in the psychic world, big difference. Most people project their crap onto situations and people. You've got to train yourself to perceive it and not project it. And once you figure it out for your own personality, it just becomes a skill. It just becomes, oh, no, you're projecting, you know.
All right. Let's get to another question here from Vivian, who is asking, and this goes more into astrology, what is the real explanation of a Pisces woman?
Well, there's a lot of, that's a broad brush question. It's a water element. Pisces is the 12th sign in the Western zodiac. It's the symbology of Pisces is the mer people, the mermaid. It's Neptune, Poseidon in Greek myth. The water creatures, the nymphs, the sprites, the mer children, the beautiful allure of the dangerous siren that drugged the sailors down to the depths because they were drawn to her seductive beauty, and she was actually the guard dog for the whole mer kingdom. So she would sit out there brushing her hair, you know, topless out there with that pretty little fishtail, and the sailors were like at sea for a long time, and so Pisces are very alluring. They would jump to go see her, and her job was to make sure they never discovered the hidden kingdom of all the mer people. So, and Poseidon, Neptune, in Pisces, is the ruler of Pisces astrologically. Poseidon was the lord of all the seas. So Pisces symbol is two fishes. It's kind of an AC/DC thing. They're swimming in opposite directions. So the problem with Pisces is that their health can actually be, they can be physically affected by their undiscovered emotions or feelings. Pisces have very sensitive, their nemesis is, I often would say in my lectures when I did comedy things, a Pisces will walk a mile to get their feelings hurt. Because Pisces are the rescuers, they can be the empaths, they can be the victims, they can be the martyrs, they can be the way shower, they can be the person that absolutely is the great Reiki instructor, you know, the hands-on healing type of a thing. But until a Pisces deals with their anxiety, Pisces and Capricorn can be weak to prescription alterations of personality like Xanax or Valium or, you know, I can't sleep at night. I've got to take that. Pisces rules that whole drug kingdom and the whole substance abuse type of thing. And I've met two types of Pisces. The Pisces that can be a functioning person as long as they take their prescribed, you know, calm me down happy pill, like, you know. And then I've met the Pisces that's absolutely extreme into fitness and holistic. But there's something about Pisces that always brings them into herbs and medicine. It's either allopathic or it's naturopathic, but they know that they have to learn how to balance outside influences on their mental and their emotional realms. They really have, you know, they're the ones that will like let the kids stay at home too long because they feel like that they're, you know, just psychologically struggling, and they have to watch becoming the vampires emotionally because they can be very needy. Cancer and Pisces and some Capricorns, even though that's an earth sign, need a lot of emotional strokes and a lot of emotional reassurance. And Pisces, they tend to need to be reassured that their viability and that they're a very powerful, loving type of vibration, but they tend to end up taking care of the cripple or the person. Maybe the Pisces is clean, but they end up taking care of the alcoholic or the abuser or the person that just can't seem to break the addiction to the heroin or the cocaine or the Adderall or whatever it is. It's like the Pisces is the one that's like, I'll hang in there. What is it? You know, to the nth degree kind of a thing. So they have to, it's like I always say to Pisces, if you're the caretaker, make sure that you're also taking care of you. Caretakers have to take care of themselves, or they're no good to anybody if they let all their resources and their energies get drained. But a Pisces woman is very seductive. She can be very manipulative because the Pisces females that I've dealt with, they don't relax in life until they've found their avenue of being able to be a creative artist of some kind, so music or dance or painting or engaging in something holistic. I've met fabulous Pisces people that were into essential oils or, making their own natural soaps and things. It's just fantastic when they plow themselves into a holistic type of approach. But I've also met the Pisces that were incredible champions. They were in that plane crash, or they came back from the war, or they came back with a blown-off limb or something like that, and they end up being these great ambassadors of, it's like somehow they get into this crippled or maimed or the wounded ones or the ones that need compassion or shelter from the storm. They're in that realm. They're doing charity causes, or they're the ones that are like helping the animals or helping the homeless. I mean, they're just fantastic in that world. And there's a lot of great Pisces nurses and Pisces doctors. I mean, they're somehow they have to do with rehab, coming back from a life storm, and writing the book, going on Oprah, doing the things to where they can say, I died and I came back. I mean, that's just like normal for a Pisces. There's these high drama, these high tides that come into a Pisces life, usually from no fault of their own. They just get into high drama situations. It's like, murder on the high seas or solving the murder type of thing, the mystery murder type of theater. They're better actors, they're better performers. They need that escape because their inner world is very intense. They're naturally intuitive. They can have a great grasp of intuition and psychic arts, but they've got to learn how to cut off the energy flow or they get really drained.
All right, I got a bunch of questions piled up here, and there's some that are going to be asking about their sign in astrology, but there's a couple that I have missed from quite a while ago, so I'm going to jump on a topic here for a second. Danny is asking in Periscope, have you ever met someone that genuinely scared you? Ultimately,
yes.
Maybe
yes.
evil or
yep.
some sort of just something wrong with them?
Yeah, the quick answer to that for Danny, it's a great question, Danny, thank you, that helps the audience, is I'll tell you, I was actually at a cocktail hour, and I was playing around with the paranormal. I'm like 28, and it's packed, and it's in kind of a little shishi bar in Florida there, and there was a guy that didn't really fit he was sitting up at the bar rather than where people would get like appetizers and stuff, and he was kind of like, it was really crowded. And I was looking across the bar, and it caught my attention psychically, but he was kind of like, how you've seen those people that have a conversation with themselves? Like he was answering, like what you and I would say is he was answering the sky. And he was like talking to something above him. And, of course, I thought, I would just, be a paranormal know-it-all with that. So I'm way across the room. And I started sense that it was a demon. And I started like telling, leave him alone. You need to go away. You need to leave him alone. And that guy across the way, it's like 5 o'clock in the afternoon, the guy that was talking to the spirits got up and came over close to where I was, and I just raised my hand up. I'm sitting with like a table of 5, and I raised my hand up just like kind of like a school guard or a cop would say stop, halt. And I just put my hand up, and I didn't say anything. And the guy kind of stopped and looked, and he said, why did I come over here? Like that. And I said, it's okay. Just, go about your business. It's okay. And then as he turned around, the spirit that was with him, the invading demonic energy, to answer Danny's point, clearly, telepathically said to me, I'm with him. It's none of your business. Don't interfere again or I'll go home with you. And I mean, you talk about all the psychic hair standing up, and I said, like in the Wizard of Oz, I said, be gone. You have no power here. And they said, remember what I said. You interfered. This is none of your business. Taught me a great lesson. But did I feel the cold and the icy type of thing that you'll see in a lot of the movies? Yeah. And I have been walking, to my car or on the street or whatever many times in my life, and all of a sudden, again, intuition, I'll feel like the great Star Wars thing, a disturbance in the Force. And I don't stop to investigate it, nor am I scared. My shields go up. and I just call on the Almighty I Am, and I know that if I get that odd, it's a very recognizable, different than anything else, kind of a psychic feeling of like, you need to leave here. It happened to me one time when I was boarding a plane. I started to get on the plane, and all my alarms went off and said, don't get on the plane. I'm like, really? I've like bought a ticket. So your mind will start, don't get on the plane. And that plane, I didn't get on the plane. I said, I need to take another flight. So you know how they'll bump you and let somebody else go on. So I took the next flight. That plane, everybody was okay, but that plane had some kind of equipment failure and was delayed like 2 hours. So I listened to it. But it's somebody that's being airy-fairy if they say there's no such thing as evil or darkness in the world. There is. Both of them teach us lessons. I don't want to learn my lessons through darkness. I've seen it. I've worked with it. I've exorcised it. I don't go doing that stuff. I don't go into that realm. Other people that need those lessons can do a great job of that. But I don't go looking for trouble. And if I sense the trouble, I evacuate the premises type of thing. There's too much light in the world that I'd like to bring or be a part of. I don't need to do battle with it. But it's real. Yeah.
All right. We have about 5 minutes here before we got to go to break here, and I think we could sneak in one more question here. PJ is asking, what do you tell a young person about Aleister Crowley? They are attracted to learning about him.
I had the Thoth Tarot deck for a while. It was a gift to me that Crowley and I forget her name, lady somebody, helped. It was the artist that helped Crowley. And back in the day, there was also a guy, I think he was based out of North Carolina, that did the satanic Bible called Anton LaVey or something like that, and really was into very, very open and very active into the satanic arts, and called it that. That's not my label. Called it that. Did satanic ritual and all that. That just didn't work for me. I mean, there's people that enjoy that. There's people that bask in that. Rock on. But I would say you need to, again, we go back to what's your inner feeling about this? Talk to me about why you're drawn to Crowley. Is it because it gives you a unique signature? Does it get you attention to talk to your age group about it? I mean, can I get you to explore like Ted Andrews' Animal Speak? Can I get you to deal with the medicine cards by David Carson and Jamie Sams? I mean, can I get you to do more of a broader metaphysical thing? Can I get you to do some meditations? I mean, I would sometimes with certain ages, if you go down too hard on it, it drives them further into it. So I see a reason for the raised eyebrow, but I would engage them in, can you describe for me why you're drawn to Crowley? I would kind of go into it from can we discuss this? Let's do an intellectual dance with this. And then I would probably find a Native American ceremonial circle, the cornmeal ceremony, or a sweat lodge, and I would let them go experience that so they learn, boots on the ground, how to release any kind of negative signatures. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Do you think we could sneak one more in
Yes.
here? All right.
Yes.
All right, let's go to Yvonne in Spreaker. She is asking, Earth's axis has apparently shifted, so has that been applied to the astrological layout now?
No, it's more of a vibrational frequency. Again, I'm a traditionalist. Do I believe that our vibrational frequencies and our ability to go into higher levels of each one of the signs, archetypes? Yes. Yes. Can we go from a Taurus stubborn into a Taurus chef or a Taurus vocal musician that heals people strictly with sound harmonies? Yes. Can we take the vibrations higher? Absolutely. I remember when they had to shift Tampa's airport because the Earth, it really is real stuff, what Yvonne's saying, that it has shifted. And I believe that as Earth citizens, as we reside on our Earth Mother, I look at the seasons more. I watch the weather outside as much as I watch the cosmic conditions. To me, they have to be congruent with each other. If there are solar storms, if there are class X and F flares coming off the sun is our great star, so you better believe it's affecting our electromagnetic frequencies, just like Mother Earth's axis. Oh yeah, if we shake her, she's going to shake us back. It's shaking medicine to the indigenous people. The lightest form of that is dancing. The strongest form of that is seizures. So shaking medicine is, dancing's fun. Seizures, not so much. So yeah, it's a frequency thing. It's a barometer. It's got to do with different kinds of pressure allowances or understandings. It's sacred geometry. It's Merkaba. It's our aura. It's some people, like when you go to Sedona, some people are really resonant with the electric energies out there. Some are more resonant with like Cathedral Rock or Bell Rock. They're more in tune with the magnetic frequencies. The electrical are masculine, and you'll get irritated and anxious and nervous if you're too electrical. If you're magnetic, you just want to chill out like you've had a nice mushroom cocktail or smoked a nice joint.
Always a good way to put it, because around here, being up here in BC, it's about to become legal. Full legal.
Well, you know what? It's an herb.
It is.
It's an herb.
You know what? I do not partake in the hippie lettuce, but I have no problem with anybody who does. And old Davey likes the smell. I enjoy the smell. I don't know why.
I bake with it. Because it's the heat. It's a gram positive. It definitely works on. That's another story we don't have time for right now. But I worked with certain herbs when I had to deal with cancer at 21 years old, and cannabis in baked form, because the heat has to, do that ingredient. I don't like smoking, but when I baked with it, lemon poppy seed muffins added with butter and, heat. You got to heat that plant for able to have the holistic nutrients to go into your cells. But it definitely, like chaparral, was taken off the market for a while. These are anti-cancer herbs. I mean, I've done the holistic thing. I'm the holistic mystic, Dave. I mean, I'm into the Mother Nature helping us here.
Exactly.
But am I going to do ayahuasca? No. I mean, I've listened to people that have done it. My friends did LSD growing up. I was the sitter.
That's a bad trip.
Yeah, I'm not doing that. I'm not. Well, why? Because my intuition is doing the dolphin. I'm not doing it.
Exactly. I got to put you on hold right there. We're going to step out for our final break of the night. Mary Dusina is our guest tonight. We're talking all things psychic, intuition, astrology, and I know I got a bunch of your questions all lined up here. I will get to them in hour number 3, so stay tuned. You're listening to Spaced Out Radio. I'm your host, Dave Scott. We'll be back after this. Are you tired of being blocked, shadow banned, or placed in jail for simply posting your thoughts on social media? Social Media Freedom can take care of that for you. Social Media Freedom is the newest and one of the best free new apps that allows you the freedom to post what you want, when you want. It takes seconds to download from your app store. Come join the tribe at Social Media Freedom. It's time to set yourself free.
The first annual Caribou Paracon is happening September 28th to 30th in the 108 Mile Ranch, British Columbia. Brought to you by the Canadian Society of Questers and Spaced Out Radio. Come listen to our featured speaker, Grant Cameron, along with Elizabeth Anglin, Paisley Town, Mike Moran, Eric Cooper, and more. It's a 3-day supernatural adventure at the Spruce Hills Resort and Spa. Tickets for the weekend are $150 Canadian. The Caribou Paracon, celebrating everything paranormal.
A timepiece is a reflection of who you are, and what better way to show off the real you than with an Escape watch? Escape is a lifestyle brand accessorizing your days and nights. Choose to escape and create the life of discovery that you deserve. Dream, play, unite with your own personalized Escape watch. Head to escapewatches.com. There is no time like the present to enjoy your escape. Use promo code SMF2017 for your 20% discount today.
Looking for a place to advertise at a very reasonable cost? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. SpacedOutRadio.com has an advertising tab that you can click to check out our daily, weekly, and monthly packages to play on the radio, or our website including social media. From commercial spots to banners, we have it all. Check out our competitive pricing today.
We're lighting the void on Saturday nights on Spaced Out Radio. Hey, this is Joe Roop, and I'm hanging out in SOR headquarters every Saturday night, bringing you the latest news when it comes to the weird and strange. Bigfoot, occult, UFOs, ghosts, and everything in between, I got you covered. You can tune in to spacedoutradio.com starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern Time. Come travel into the void with us on Spaced Out Saturdays.
Not ready for bed on Saturday night? Right after Spaced Out Saturdays, hop on over to S4 with Corey Ruiz and me, Eric Cooper from Forest Moon Paranormal. With S4, there are no limits to what we try and uncover. From government conspiracies to helping clean up the paranormal, no topic is safe on S4. We get to the heart of the matter, of the subjects you want to learn more about. So tune in on S4 starting at midnight Pacific, 3 a.m. Eastern, only on spacedoutradio.com.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now. The Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
The Call of the Wild is in Vancouver. The Moose Vancouver is one of the hottest bars and restaurants in the city. Open until 2 a.m. nightly, the Moose will rock you like a hurricane all night long. Great food with everything on the menu at $6.95 near the corner of Nelson and Granville. Get your horns up and come rock with us. The Moose Vancouver, the official rocking bar of Spaced Out Radio.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com.
This is Eric Markham, news editor for the Spaced Out Radio's The Encounter Online. We have put together a great team of writers and journalists from all over the world to bring you top-quality paranormal stories. From alien encounters to the latest conspiracies, you won't find any of that fake news here. True stories and top-notch reporting as we look to bring these experiences to the mainstream. The Encounter Online, only at spacedoutradio.com.
Do you want to know the truth? Do UFOs exist? Are aliens real? Are the governments hiding the biggest secret in history? We're UFO seekers, and we're on a hunt for the truth. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow along with us as we journey across the United States, visiting UFO hotspots and alien hotspots, trying to document the UFO phenomenon. Catch us on Spaced Out Radio every third Monday of the month as we discuss Area 51, UFOs, and more. And also, don't forget to subscribe to us on YouTube.
You hear footsteps in the empty room above you. A rocking chair begins rocking by itself. Don't be afraid of the things that go bump in the night. Reach for Spirit Storybox, the iPhone app the Huffington Post UK called the only ghost hunting app you will ever need. Spirit Storybox. The spirits are telling their stories.
From the mile-high state of Colorado, sharing our signal around the world, I invite you to Spaced Out Sundays. Hi, I'm Tessa Nicole Thomas, and I'm closing out the week by taking you on a paranormal journey to the world of the weird. Ghosts, aliens, psychic phenomena, I will hit it all in your questions too. So let us highlight the paranormal for you. So come join me for Spaced Out Sundays starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, 12 a.m. Eastern, only at spacedoutradio.com.
The views and opinions expressed by tonight's guest and topic of discussion do not necessarily represent the official policy or position of Spaced Out Radio, Spaced Out Weekend, Spaced Out Radio Limited, its hosts, syndicated carriers, or anyone associated with this broadcast. You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. Follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and hashtag Spaced Out Radio, and on Facebook Spaced Out Radio Show. Now, back to the program.
Welcome back to the third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott. Great to have you with us. The weekend crew is getting ready to come in while I step out of the SOR headquarters to find my Zen and my Chi. And Joe Roop, Saturday night. Spaced Out Saturdays. Tess and Nicole Thomas, Spaced Out Sundays. Both shows start at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern Time at spacedoutradio.com. We want to welcome in everyone listening in on the Space Out Radio Network, including the Fringe.fm, and you can watch us live every Monday through Friday night on Periscope.tv. It is all free as well. Our website, spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you. You can rock out to some Bumblefoot or shop at the Spaced Out Radio store, read up on the encounter online, or watch great videos from UFO Seekers, Contact TV, and so much more. If you're looking for our archives, you go to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just hit the subscribe button. I would appreciate that if you don't mind. Bill Cardwell has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Plimp Plamp Pleterin. Plimp Plamp Pleterin is your password. Make sure you use it wisely, Space Travelers, as Bill sets a password each and every night right here on the mighty SOR. Mary Dusina is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. She is going the distance as we are talking all things intuitive, astrological, and so much more. Mary, welcome back.
Thank you, sir, and thank you to your audience.
Oh, they're fantastic. This audience keeps me on my toes, and they're a brilliant, brilliant bunch. It's hard to keep up with them sometimes.
Well, a good, healthy sense of humor, and yet a great, I say to people, they say, well, I'm a skeptic. I mean, it's so funny. People say, I don't believe in astrology, and I'll say, neither do I. And they look at me and they go, what? And I'm like, I work with astrology as an art, an interpretive art, and a great element character teacher, but it's not something I believe in. You don't have to believe in it to get the benefits from the soft science that it is. I mean, it's as old as dirt. I mean, it's like every culture has had it, from the Phoenicians and the Babylonians and the Persians, and the biblical aspect. It's everywhere. It's everywhere you want to be. So I mean, and I will tell you, those of you out there, I would love to just give a little snippet. I know we're going back to questions, but this is the paramount piece. Each year has its different signature. And on May 15th, and all over YouTube, every novice to advanced astrologer is talking about the planet of radical epiphanies and revolutionary changes in our life. It's known as Uranus, which is the ruler of the sign Aquarius, shifted into Taurus. Not been there since like 1936 to 1942 type of a thing. And it left Aries. So back in 2010, we started the selfie, Me Too, warrior 7 years. I call it the 7-year itch when I read an astrological chart. So it just went into a new sign. It's gone from the ram into the creature teacher of the bull. So if you are the 4 signs that are most stimulated this year with awakenings, revolutionary changes, finally, as you put it, untangling our knots, getting out from the spider web, type of a thing that we keep putting ourselves in unconsciously, getting ourselves free, are Taurus and their balance opposite signs Scorpio, Leo, and Aquarius, because these are the 4 fixed signs. And then also, in the health aspect of it, and I'm talking mental health, psychic health, and physical health, Gemini and Sagittarius need to pay attention to taking care of them. Your first order of business is be good to you. Take, as you said, I'm going to go take the weekend to find my chi and be good to me kind of a thing. Great motto for Geminis and Sagittarians. Very important because it's hitting the psychological houses, your psychic ability. If you're a Gemini, your psychic ability, your intuitive ability is going to be stronger than it has been in 3 decades. It really is, even if you're that old. But it's just really going to be like, wow, and seeing UFOs and your spirit guides and getting names and those of you that are into ghost hunting or going on these tours and looking for the electro frequency or getting something captured on some of your equipment. If you're a Gemini or a Sagittarius, oh yeah. Now don't go to the graveyard and don't go to these historical places if you're not shielded or ready to have something really big happen. You know, and again, like we talked about Pisces with, I don't know if it was Yvonne or Vivian talking about being a Pisces. They're just naturally like psychic sponges. That's why I always advise Pisces to make sure of the company that they keep and address their own intuition with themselves. Do I really want to do this, or am I just kind of being talked into this? Because, again, they are a sign that is magnetic. They draw down the power of the moon. They're very much affected by the people that are around them, and they can be too influenced by other people's strong auras. So for Pisces, I always say to Pisces, to thine own self be true. But those signs, and with the eclipses, the eclipse we had last year, the lunar and solar eclipse we had in August of 2017, that fruit doesn't come ripe until August 11th of this year. We have 5 eclipses this year. And the most powerful time of 2018 is this May 15th entrance of the next 7-year itch of the planet of revolutionary, humanitarian, you got to get back to the basics, and I think the pendulum is swinging back toward family values. Watch the old drive-in movies, the outdoor drive-in movies. Watch those come back in style. I know Netflix is really popular right now, but people are going to be going back to nature. They're going to be going back to nature. So the old drive-through when you can go with your family and not be, right butt up against somebody in a theater and they're on their cell phone and they're cheating and they're lying and they're talking. When you're outside like that and you're with your own little tribe and you're having your beer or your wine, it's kind of fun. Those have been shut down for a while. And getting out in Earth, paying attention to your intuition when you're outside with Earth, that's going to be very big this year. But come June and the eclipses that happen in June and July, we get our first eclipse in the sign of Cancer, the crab. So again, spring into summer, listen to your intuition. We're going to be very intuitive and very psychic. And the first order of business is not to allow the dark temptations or the revenge factor or it's all about me stuff. That's going away. We're going to get more back into our elders, our ancestors, our tribal customs, and sitting on the porch and surfing and going out for sunset horseback rides, things like that. We're going to be back into our Mother Earth and organic stuff and farming. And we're going to, for the next 7 years, we're going to really have to address our home planet. It's going to be very, very much in the news.
Right. All right, let's move back to the audience questions because we do have quite a few of them. Yep. And let me just see here. Dawn is asking, is there really a new star sign, as NASA said? If so, what is it?
No. It's that debate went around a couple of times over the last 2 years, and even NASA said, no, that's bogus. It's like, no, fake news. No, it's the 12 signs deal kind of like with our 12 months of the year in the realm that we live in, the way that we, time is an illusion, but we have a measurement system so we can have some kind of decorum and order. And so the 12 signs, if you look at it like a medicine wheel, if you look at it like the 12 calendar months of the year, and again, a mystic, an astrologer, my new year isn't January 1st. It's spring equinox. It's the first day of spring. So, or Aries. So I look at it like the seasons of our life. I eat the fruits and the vegetables holistically that come in with those seasons. Like we have, when we're having our winters, then we have more of the root crops, and we're doing soups and broths and things like that. So Aries is red, so when Aries happens in the third week of March every year, then I'm going more into ruby red grapefruits and cranberries and beets, and I'm going into more of the red cabbage. I'm going into those colors, cherries and things, even if I'm still doing the frozen stuff, to kind of get in tune with the colorology of Aries, the energies of that. So I do it from a holistic standpoint. So no, the answer is no. For me. Now, I'm not saying I'm the end-all, be-all, but no, there's 12 signs, there's 12 archetypes, and it's like our clock. Our astrology chart's kind of like, there's noon, there's midnight, but each one of those signs is like our clock. It's a celestial measuring tool. It's a timeline. Astrology is really good for timing things. So no, I don't agree with 13.
All right, let's move on to the next question here. In the Spaced Out Radio chat rooms, and this comes from Shar. Have you ever used a normal deck of playing cards in order to read people? If so, what were the results?
Perfect. Same as tarot. It cuts to the chase, because there's not all the symbolism on the cards, but Char may have missed when we were talking about, that diamonds are pentacles and hearts are cups and swords are the spades in regular playing cards. I don't use the jokers. I take those out. But, then you still got your king and your queen and your knight and your jack, which is a page in tarot. So once you learn them, they're very interactive. As I said earlier, first or second hour, I can say to someone, break open a playing deck, take the jokers out, mix them as much as you want to, pick 3 cards, and I can immediately do, like, if you will, an oracle reading, divination, fortune, if you will, right on that question right there. It takes some time, like the guy that was talking about wanting to start with tarot. It takes some time to learn it. But again, and those 4 suits in tarot, those 4 suits in playing cards, tie into the 4 elements in astrology. And numerology is your numbers on your playing cards. What's the difference between a 1 and a 3? Once you learn your 9 numbers in numerology, this all starts to be synchronized and it all starts to interact. And I took 7 years of numerological courses with a numerology master because I thought, I really want to know my numbers. I want to know how to calculate my personal year versus the calendar year, and I want to be able to calculate what the numbers are for my months and my days. I did Chinese astrology, but you can do all these mystical things, and then you'll come back to the 2 that you're drawn to. I love hypnosis. I love the past life, shamanic, ceremonial stuff. Astrology is like, it's a lot of work, it's a lot of work. To me, tarot, the clairvoyant readings I do for people, I love that because I'm getting in touch with my guides or talking to their guides. And that's just like spontaneous, it's right there. Astrology is a lot of work, lots of work before you can talk to somebody. Unless you study astrology, you have no idea the study that has to happen before that hour phone call about the next 6 months of 2018 for you. It's just, there's so much. And it takes years to really be able to tie all those planets and signs and houses and things together. I don't recommend it for the easily distracted. It's a lot of work. Clairvoyance is much easier. Train yourself to do oracle and clairvoyance. Numerology is easier to study than astrology. Astrology is intense. It's just like, wow. Yeah, it's intense.
Jade is asking, Mary, what's your understanding of cusps, in particular Leo, Virgo?
Okay, in professional astrology, which is what I've done for 35 years plus, there is no such thing as a cusp. Now, there's the measuring of what they call the decants of astrology, but when you have your chart professionally calculated, there are 30 degrees to each one of the 12 signs, which makes a 360-degree wheel. So Jade might be a 28 or 29-degree, 55-minute Leo. She's a Leo, period, end of story. Her sun sign is in Leo if it's at 29 degrees of Leo. Now, she may have the faster-moving planets, so she sees the Virgo thing kind of fit. She may have Mercury and Venus because they hang out pretty close with the sun, and a lot of times Mars will be within 1 or 2 signs of your sun sign. The real accurate thing in astrology is to dig into those family records or baby books or Bibles and talk to your relatives. Try to get that time of birth, that AM or PM, and that time of birth within 30 minutes, at least within an hour, because like Jade might feel both Leo and Virgo, but let's say she's born at midnight, and let's say her front door of her chart, which they call the ascendant or the rising sign, or east in the medicine wheel, you always enter and leave at the east, might be Gemini. So when she reads her yearly or her monthly, not so much daily because it's kind of pop astrology, but when she reads Gemini, that's going to fit way more than Leo or Virgo. Like someone can be a Scorpio, but they can have 5 planets in Libra. Someone can be a Scorpio and they can have like a bunch of stuff loaded up in Sagittarius, even though they're not born on a, quote, cusp. But the real answer mathematically is once your chart is actually mathematically calculated for where were the main planets that we look at, including the luminaries of the sun and the moon, where were they mathematically located overhead from point of Earth, which is called geocentric, at the time and location of your birth. That sets up your rising sign or your ascendant is the front door. It's the self you project outward that other people see. But you're either a very end of Leo, or you're like 0 degrees or one minute of Virgo. But there really is, when a professional astrologer does your chart, they'll see why you feel both, but you're either a Leo or a Virgo. There's really technically no such thing as a cusp. It's a pop term. I understand it's easy to explain it, but she's either a end of Leo or she's a beginning of Virgo. When it's professionally done, she'll learn what she is.
Danny is asking, what has more power over us, the moon or the stars?
I do study the constellation legends and myths, and I find that to be fascinating of how the patterns play out in people's lives. It depends on if a person has shut themselves off from their feelings, like if they're a dissociative type of person psychologically. The moon has a lot to do with our subconscious, the effects of our childhood. It's the feminine element, or the yin, and the sun is the yang, or the masculine. So I would say what a man's looking for in a partner, and a love partner, would be more moon influenced, where his moon was. So the moon, when he's actually wanting to mate with someone or to find, a compatible partner, then the moon would be more active as a controlling, dominating stimuli. But if just in his own character development as a biological male, the sun is the only constant in astrology. The sun follows all 12 signs, except for a leap year, at pretty much the same time every year. So I would say, for me, my answer would be, in my experience, the moon affects people far more than the sun sign, far more.
All right, let's get to Tripp's question in the Spreaker chat room. What do you think is better? I know you're not a fan of Ouijas, but what do you think of pendulums?
Love them. I love dowsing. I was taught dowsing with the stick, to go find water, like water witchery, they call it in the Appalachians. I like the pendulum. I like crystals. I feel like it's more, I like that yes, no, get to the point, just the facts, ma'am, just the facts. I like pendulums. I like dowsing. I think that's a great thing to do with kids, is to get the stick, or get the two metal things, and go out and learn, if you're the property owner, where your water lines are. Learn where the streams and the creeks are, and you go out there yourself before you take the grandkids or the kids, and they just squeal with delight when the metal rods cross and when the stick shakes and things like that. It's a fun, safe, paranormal thing to do with the pendulum or the dowsing rods, or I love it. The Ouija board is right up there with the seance thing. Can you bring in spirits? Oh, absolutely. Can you bring in all kinds of diverse elements with a seance or a Ouija board? Yeah, but it's like, walking in L.A. at 4:00 in the morning in a miniskirt. You're going to invite all kinds of things. It's just not smart.
That's just a good analogy right there. All right.
As my mama would say, Dave, don't make when I was 16, she'd go, now don't make your guardian angels work overtime. And I'm like, what does that mean? And she's like, well, yes, we have guardian angels, but if you go out there and just do foolhardy things, they're busy. Then you're making them have to run around and protect you when you just ain't using your good sense.
You go right into Southern accent when you talk about Mama.
That's right. There's a lot of Mamaisms. Well, she was a real herbal mountain woman, boy, I tell you. People, you talk about a psychic that just was very understated and just knew how to deliver a good blow. I mean, psychically, it's like, wow, that woman knows what she's doing.
All right, let's move on to the questions here because they're still pretty piled up. Joseph is asking, he's having issues with meditation lately. He often feels there is something attempting to drag him into sleep. Can Mary see anything regarding this?
What's his month and day of birth?
That I don't know.
Okay. It feels to me that what he's doing is the meditation is wanting to take him more into his higher self, his more elevated, higher mind, higher heart's eyes, wisdom of the soul. And when we first start going into that, what's pulling us into sleep is our work patterns, our gym patterns, our circadian rhythms, and if that's on or off, the supplements we're taking or medications. So I feel like that he needs to pick a power time, his power time, like maybe it's on a weekend, like when Dave gets his weekends off. Pick a time when you don't have to be on a work schedule or you don't have to be on demand for kids or partners, and then try not to do too long of a meditation when you first really start to stay awake. For me, hypnosis was easy for me. I could not lay down in my teens and do a meditation because I would just take off. I flew. I'd say to people, I fly easy. So I had to sit up in a chair. And that way, if I started to nod off, although I was meditating, I wasn't paying attention to the actual guided imagery instructions. But when the person was counting us back, I was right there. So there's different altered states that we go into. I don't think he's probably doing anything wrong. I feel like that he just may need to have his meditations at this juncture in his soul development feel like, to me psychically, that it's giving him, if he's doing 15 or 30 minutes, even if he does seemingly go to sleep, he's actually doing chakra restoration. He's actually recharging his soul battery. So I don't get it all psychically. He's doing it wrong. I wouldn't be so attached to doing it right or wrong. I'd go with the ride if I were him, and he'll naturally find his ability to pay attention. The very first thing we have to do in meditation is to keep bringing the mind back to listening, keep bringing the mind back and not letting that monkey mind take over.
All right, let's move on to another question here. This one comes from Heather. She would like to know about what your thoughts are on Scorpio.
Scorpio is the most favored sign this year. It's the most intense sign in my book. Scorpios, everything with a Scorpio is very intense. It's the only zodiac sign that has a bunch of symbols for it. There's the scorpion, there's the eagle, there's the phoenix, and there's the snake. So because Scorpios shed a lot of skins, and, as I would say in lectures when people would attempt to act out or ask questions when they weren't supposed to, being a Scorpio, an October Scorpio, I would say to them, stingers up. And anybody that came to my lectures regularly would go, oh, you don't want to do it. Don't. I say, you'll behave in the audience or you'll get to feel the stinger. And for Scorpios, that's usually a verbal evisceration. It's some kind of verbal, I'm going to get you back up off that high horse in a minute verbally. So Scorpions can sting like your wasp. They can sting with their sarcasm. I always say to my Scorpio clients, go to the Latin root word for sarcasm, and you'll find out it means to rip or tear flesh. So when people used to say, hey, that really they cut me down, that literally goes back to the word origins of being sarcastic or sarcasm, which is to rip or tear flesh. So Scorpio is a natural warrior sign. It's a feminine sign. A female Scorpio is a completely different energy vibration, like a Pisces woman, than a Pisces man. So Scorpios are the femme fatales. I mean, they're very... There's a whole lot going on the inside with the Scorpio. They usually make sure someone falls in love with them hard first before they allow their emotions to really engage. So they know they're intense. They kind of get afraid of their own intensity. It's a process. Of all the 12 signs, Scorpio has the favor of Jupiter, which was Zeus in mythology, until November of this year. It went in October of last year. So there's an expansiveness. This is a good time, especially July and September, for Scorpios to step out of their comfort zone and to think outside the box or jump outside the envelope or throw away the box in the envelope. It's a good year for Scorpio to say, I need to dip my toe in a different pond. But it's probably going to be about relationships, significant others, and how the people that they meet can help take them to the next level of success in 2018. The eclipses favor them too.
Vivian is asking, why do you think she is having a harder time meditating and writing poetry? since she moved to a different province in Canada?
Sometimes there's something to do with the history or the energy of a place. Anybody that's ever done any kind of energy sensing, whether it's pendulums or dowsing or spirit definition of a place, the land that actually the apartment or the house or the trailer sits on can have a lot of history with it, as far as the tribes of the area, the people of the areas, the stories of the families, either joys or tragedies that were there. I would say that the energy's been so intense in April, May of this year. What I get psychically for her is that I feel like the issue is a moot point as she comes into the summer solstice time of this year, around the 21st, 22nd of June, going toward those eclipses on July 12th. I feel like she's going to get, like, instead of writer's block, I feel like she's just going to have these gushing waterfalls of, like, she'll be a wordsmith during that time. So I would probably focus on something else, because for her psychically, I feel like everything that she feels like she oughta, shoulda, coulda been writing all comes just like a beautiful waterfall of creativity from third week of June into the end of July.
All right, I think we're caught up on questions now.
Are we? Okay.
I think so. I think we raced through those. Oh, we got one from Kat, and I actually agree with this. A lot of people think that the Ouija board is a bad device for communication with spirit. Now, I've used one.
Mm-hmm.
And I know a lot of people who don't see it as an evil object.
I don't think it's an evil object. I think it's something that requires stealth and discipline and really keeping your mind and your soul energies focused on why are you there. I disagree with the Ouija board as parlor entertainment, or let's just willy-nilly see what we can conjure. That's when I disagree with it. I don't blame the tool. I believe that it's a very effective medium for contacting spirit. But you get a lot of cavalier attitudes with it, or worse, people drink too much when they go to do a Ouija board or they go to a seance. And I'm like, what are you doing? I mean, there's a reason why indigenous cultures, you don't bring any food, alcohol, or drink to ceremonial circle. If you want to break bread, break fast, and party on, afterwards, it's afterwards you've come out of ceremony. You want to be clean and lean when you're doing clairvoyance or clairaudience or, EMP type of stuff. You want to really be on your game. Like if you're going to do Ouija or you're going to do a seance, pick who's coming to that seance, pick who your Ouija partner is very deliberately and very carefully. There'd be a difference with you and I doing a Ouija board or you and I going into a seance because you've got paranormal experience. You know how to set your intentions, Dave, than someone that would just be like, let's conjure up somebody. Who's out there tonight? It's going to be like, oh, no, oh, hell to the no. That's not happening.
Very true. Very true indeed. What about...
So I don't blame the messenger. I don't blame the messenger. You have to be... I guess the best word is the fuel and the skill of discernment.
What about broken spirits? You talked about that in hour number 1 just a little bit, but it was something that kind of intrigued me because I've never really heard that term before. Yeah, a fractured and a broken spirit. It can be someone that's alive. It can also be a discarnate. It's the person that was wrongly hanged, just because of the color of their skin or a prejudicial experience, or someone that was beaten and abused and they were an innocent child, or they were, or a child witnessed someone doing something horrific to one of their animals. That creates a fracture. And what happens is, even though they bury that or they dissociate part of that because it's a hurtful memory, it's like, again, spirit and essence and frequencies are very much alive. It's either going to uplift your soul and your personality, or it can drown you. So when you've got a fractured spirits can be, earthbound, or it can be people that are carrying a fracture that needs to heal in the essence and the spirit of their whole continence of being. It's if they were constantly berated and criticized and verbally abused and emotionally condemned in a marriage, or that happened in their childhood and they ended up marrying their, quote, mother or father,
personality in a marriage, then that fracture can never heal. It's not healing in that situation because they're not addressing. As a child, they really couldn't fight back, let's say. But as you get to be 20 or 40, you don't have to physically fight with somebody, but that's not the only person on the earth that you can be hooked up with. So the fracture can either keep them stuck in the issues, or they can heal the fracture by taking back their own power. Something wicked or something inappropriate or something horrific started the break, started the break in their energy flow. And so when we have a fracture, we're leaking out of our aura. We're leaking. And the full thrill of our confidence and the full enigma of our higher emotions and our realms of ecstasy and our ability to really trust those higher layers of epiphanies and awakenings, be able to trust that a wake-up call doesn't have to be painful psychologically, psychically, spiritually. It doesn't happen as easily for a person that has an old fracture in their aura. When I read people, when I read them energetically, like I've got a lecture I'm doing over in North Georgia, and I deliberately picked July 11th, and it'll be packed because instead of it being my astrological forecast for the first part of the year, it's live floor readings. And like in England, when you have spiritualist churches, like up in Cassadaga and in Lilydale, people love that. They love when there's no way you can know about them. For the floor readings, I don't even bring oracle cards. I just close my eyes, and wherever spirit directs me, I walk in that audience, and I touch them, and I just tell them exactly what spirit downloads into me at that point. I don't choose to leave my body and channel, but if anybody's ever been to floor readings, it's like you actually just, you're raw. You're out there, and Dave and 50 other people are in the audience. I don't know you. I've not met you. And even if I knew you for 20 years, I never know what spirit or your guides are going to tell me to tell you. So it's as thrilling for me as it is for other people. But to your point, when I see these fractured, spirit likes to show me those so I can say to them, you don't have to go into this. I'm just going to tell you, I see a break in your energy at 7 to 8 years old. You don't have to go back and relive the pain or the people will just start weeping. I want you to know that that's leaving you. I really believe the reason you came tonight is because as you're listening out there in the audience, if you know that you have a fracture, it's a psychic secret. You never want to go there again. You don't want to bring it up, but you know that somehow you feel weak by it, that it's like your superpowers get robbed because of that event in your life. We've all had ups and downs. We've all had falls, and it's how we get back up, Dave. It's how we get back up and how we overcome and how we become more victorious than we get stuck in being a victim. The fractures and the breaks cause us to kind of get into the perpetual victim because it gets us attention and it gets us sympathy, but it's still a handicap in our aura that we're hanging on to. So I just kind of cut to the chase, and I really go into more of like an enlightenment engineer in a sense mode, and I say to my guides, what's the alchemy? What's the medicine? Give me the words, give me the colors, give me the frequencies that they don't have to go into any pain memory of this, that, let me call in the psychic doctors that are in the spirit world. Let's just get this thing done, because I really believe fate brought us together, and I believe that can happen. People listening to your audience right now, I don't have to see me in person. I believe the very fact that they've heard the term fractured spirit, broken soul, a brokenness in the spirit, that's where we have to start. And I believe that's a lot of the people that have psychotic breaks. I believe that people that have multi-personalities, I believe these are either crossovers from other lifetimes, but they didn't resolve, or they've got the multi-personalities are dissociative spirits and not being fully possessed by invading spirits that are still earthbound, but obsessive. There's an obsession. Those same spirits that had those kind of sexual abuses or physical abuses or nagging, critical relatives, or they were always the bullied child in the family, then the bully spirits can come, or the victim spirits can come, and they attach energetically to that person that's got that fracture. So if I can just start doing like psychic surgery or alchemy and just see the fracture fully lit up with gold and white, and call in the spirit doctors and call in the archangels and just say to them, say to yourself repeatedly, just say to yourself, I release it. I remember it. I release any kind of thing that hurt you in your past. If it pops up, just say, oh gosh, oh I remember that. That was awful. I remember it. I release it. I am now. Always use now with your affirmations. And I am now restored. Because then what that does is it in your subconscious, which is like a tape recorder, your voice recorder, the subconscious then says, oh, your subconscious is your yes universe. It says yes to everything. So if you say, I'm too fat, or I'm too tired, or I'm too this, it's going, okay, all right, yep, you're too fat, you're too this, you're too that, and it's a condemning type of thing. One of the ceremonies that I do is I have people imagine every label that they've ever been called or they tend to call themselves. And I have them like write that down on a piece of paper and go get a stick outside. Just, put a rubber band around it or a bread tie and just write down those labels. It's very private. Don't share it with anybody. Just get a pencil, get a pen, write down some of the labels that just flash and come quickly into your mind that you've said bad about yourself, self-criticism, other people have said about you, and write them down on the paper. Put the bread tie or the rubber band or the string or the twine around that stick and do a little burning ceremony of that. Some people like to bury it in the ground. You can do that with a shovel and dirt if you don't want to do fire, or just burn it. Just burn it. Like get a pan of water and burn it, and then just put the water over it, and then bury it with the earth. So your breath was involved. That was fire and air. Fire can't burn without air around you. And then you had the water of your emotions, and you had the earth of the security and the solidification that you've really let it go. Sometimes those simple-sounding rituals, the fact that you pulled those labels out and you wrote them down on a piece of paper, and you actually, instead of it just living in your cells and living in your memory and living in your thoughts, you actually brought it to life by writing it down, and then you burned it, or you baptized it, or you buried it, and you did that. It was very private, very earthy type of ceremonial process, but it's alchemy, Dave. It's alchemy. You actually did physical things to get it out of your mind and get it out into nature, and Mama Nature knows what to do with it. Gaia knows how to heal it. It's a very, it's our Earth Mother. You put it in, the grass is the skin on her arms, and the earth, as the Indians taught me, and I love this, they say that when you're in the mountain regions, when you live in the mountains, this is the breast of Mother Earth, and you're getting fed. When you're in hills and valleys and mountains, you're getting fed. When you're at the salt waters, when you're at the actual salt ocean's edge, this is the womb waters of her life. There's so much life teeming in the salt waters and the negative ions when you're at any kind of beach, anywhere in the world. This is where the life force is coming. It's high tide and low tide, and so you're getting cleansed, but you're also restoring your life force. So when people live in Florida or Costa Rica or these warm tropical places, and I got to go to the mountains, I got to go to the mountains, I got to go see waterfalls, I got to go to the mountains. That's a different kind of feeding. It's like they're actually getting, to the native peoples, the trees are called the standing people, and they're the antenna to spirit. So when you walk in the forest floor, when you're gazing at your favorite kind of trees, whether it's spring or autumn, when you really bear witness to the standing people, to the trees, and like rocks and crystals are the stone people, when you really get into the nature of the alchemy of it, then your spirit connects with that. Your spirit, you realize you too have a trunk, and you have limbs, the same terms that we use for a tree. And we leave things. Trees have leaves. We leave things. And we drop and we leave and we walk away. The trees are rooted. They're more stable with that. So it's if you start doing the turning of the wheel seasonally, and you say, okay, it's spring. What do I need to begin? I'll learn where Aries is in my chart, and it's springtime in my hemisphere, and I really need to just look at new beginnings in my life. Am I okay where I am in the third week of March every year in the Northern Hemisphere. There's some things I'd like to just test the waters and you don't have to finish them. You don't even have to go midway, but just try some new things in the season of spring. Tomorrow we go into Gemini. Tomorrow the sun will shift into Gemini. It's the final sign of spring. So this is for the writers and the musicians and the dancers and the theater people and the wordsmithing. This is the best cycle of communication for the entire year of 2018 until we get to summer solstice. Say what you need to say. Clear out destructive thoughts. It's an air element. Clear the air that you wear, so adjust your attitudes accordingly. If you're being too selfish, if you're being too entitled, if you're being too impatient, if you're being too angry when you're in traffic, this is the time to correct that. This is the time to deal with, how do your thoughts drive you into this instant impatient rage when we're driving our cars versus when we're walking down the street? It's an interesting phenomenon to me, how assertive and aggressive people get when they get behind the wheel. It's just amazing to me. The people that you know, just think about the people you know and what just immediately pisses them off when they're driving a car or they're in traffic. It's like, wow, really? Where do you go? Where does that come from? And I'll say to them, that's a spirit. That's an essence. That's an energy of impatience and entitlement and aggression. And, but maybe the warrior in you is trying to find a nice place to land in your life, but let's back it off of the traffic. Let's get it out of our schools and let's get it off the trigger, and let's get more creative with a term I like to use in Gemini is let's strive for encouraging words, and let's strive to mentally reconstruct and fashion the best version of ourselves. This is a great 30-day cycle, and it hits everybody's chart. Everybody has all 12 signs around their wheel. But Gemini is like Peter Pan. It's like that youthful, it's like Johnny Depp, savvy Jack Sparrow. I mean, Gemini rules songbirds and butterflies, very like light in the air, melodic, beautiful, fragile type of creatures. It's not a caterpillar anymore. It's a butterfly. So, and it's seeking flower essences. So Gemini is lighten up your atmosphere, invite some more humor, give encouraging words, be inspirational, that spirit within you, inspirational, and then your own aspirations will be able to manifest quicker because you're actually paying attention to the intentions and the affirmations, the words, self-talk. That's a big one for people. They would never say usually to other people how they talk to themselves, how they criticize and talk down to themselves. It's amazing what we do with ourselves in quiet verbiage inside our multi-layered beingness. So Gemini is about what words are you using? How are you writing? Why are you writing? What message do you want to get across? And then the next 30 days, astrologically, make it a point to thank the people, get in touch with the people, ask how the people are that have already proved as a soul signature in your life that they matter in your life. It's real big stuff. It's real big stuff. Gemini is all about the air that you wear and the breath, how those words, leave your lips and how they're going to land on the people around you that need you, that care for you, that may never admit it, but they need to hear that I'm proud of you from Dave, thank you type of a thing, and put gratitude into words, and again, become a better version of yourself.
We got time for one more question before we get into the thought of the day, because we only have about 9 minutes left with you. And this one comes from Caden, who is asking, two-part question, Mary. Can you see someone's animal spirit? Also,
yes.
I'm a Libra. He is asking, is this just a really crappy year for me? Because it started off great, then got real bad real quick.
Well, I probably... it was easier in February, and then probably the challenges started coming in when the planets were going into his opposite polarity sign of Aries, which started rolling in, like the Mercury and Venus and things started rolling in, and then Mars was popping around in Aries. So there was almost like a pushback. It's like the hug, shove, push, pull type of thing that started to hit Libras. I've had several Libras saying to me, what the hey? So I would say that now, tomorrow, you go into one of your compatible brother signs. The fire and the air signs are yang and masculine. Libra's a masculine yang electrical vibration. So finally, there's a congruency that starts to happen tomorrow for Libras and rolls all the way into August. So I would say that, just like they stated, the year started off strong, and there's been kind of a backslide or a stagnation or a stall, a storm will stall when there's a hurricane, and it rains and it rains and it rains and it rains because the hurricane just isn't moving. It's just stalled. And so I feel like that, and animal energies, yeah. I love reading as I told you in the first hour, I'm more into creatures and animals than I am most humans, because animals, what you see is what you get. What you see is what you get. And for him, I would say with Libra, it's more like Libras are more like the gentle animals. They're like cats. They're like parrots. Like birds. Like the actual birds that people like to have in their homes, like cockatoos and cockatiels and the African grays. Libras do really well with parrots. That a lot of Libras have dogs because they like the loyalty of dogs and they like the humor that how dogs can lighten up a room, and they always do. They always do. But around this particular Libra, for some reason, I'm feeling like that the lizard as a creature teacher is around this Libra asking the question, and lizard as an animal totem has a lot to do with the dream time. Lizard is about dreaming and what the symbols are coming to you in your meditations or in your dreams. So I would say with this Libra, his subconscious is wanting to release a lot of things. So I would get one of those legal-size yellow notepads from the dollar store and just a Bic pen or some kind of pen that writes really easy, or a marker. Just leave it by the side of the bed, or go in there to leave it in the bathroom so you can just kind of sit down and write down just a couple of key symbols or words. Don't try to write out the whole dream because you're sleepy. You want to go back to bed. You just want to evacuate the bladder, get back in bed. But if you just, first thing in the morning before you get out of bed, just, whoa, and or you wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning, write down some of those symbols. The landscape, look for what you were wearing, what you were doing, if there were any animals or descriptions of people, whether you recognize them or not. The people you don't recognize in your dream lodge are often aspects of yourself that you're either leaving or you're coming into. So I feel like the whole study of dreams, and I believe that this Libra's animal spirits are going to show up in their dreams for them.
Perfect. We're going to go to a little segment, Mary, that we do here called The Thought of the Day. So we're just going to fire up some music here, because I know the audience loves it. And what we're going to do is, every single day, we write a question up on my Facebook page called The Thought of the Day. Today's question is, describe a situation where your intuition saved you from a potentially dangerous situation. Mary, do you have an example of that for yourself?
Yeah, the bear. When that 250-plus pound, the most recent one was when I opened up the back door and I was 25 feet away from that bear, and I went, oh, and the bear snorted and looked at me, and my intuition said, move slow, talk sweet, and send your spirit toward the bear, and the bear just sat down, just like the hound dog. And then my intuition told me the bear is really hungry and it needs some food. You can't do that long term because it's wildlife and it doesn't need to bond with you. And so for a week I helped the bear. And I got to tell you, Dave, I have the picture on my smartphone, but it was at night, like at 9 o'clock at night. That bear came and laid on the back concrete wall and hung its leg down, totally content with me standing right there, 25 feet, snapping pictures with a Samsung Galaxy. So, there was a little bit of light flashing, and it would look at me, and from that point it never snored or anything. Had I not listened to my intuition, it could have been I walked right into a wild problem, because it was a big bear. But my intuition also served me to tell it, I talked to it and I said, you got to go on. I can't feed you. They'll end up having to kill you or whatever, and I'm not going to do that. So, yeah, there's there's a bunch of those. I bet your audience has a bunch of those.
They
too.
got a bunch,
I don't deny.
and you're going to enjoy some of these. You're going to enjoy some of these. Graham says, in 2001, I was surfing at a surf beach called Piha in New Zealand. It is a hot spot for large waves and merciless rips. When I was there in the surf, I sensed a dark presence, and it was a shark. I was hit, cut on my wetsuit, and gashed on my head, but I survived. Greg states, my girl, who is now 8, was only a wee baby at the time. I put her upstairs in our bed, wrapped her between 2 pillows. After about half an hour, I got this screaming voice in my head that said, go upstairs. When I got there, she was choking and purple. Intuition or a helping hand. I would say fatherly intuition on that one.
Absolutely. And by the providence of grace.
No kidding. Kat says, I was 7 months pregnant driving on a 1-lane highway. Only thing dividing the oncoming traffic was a painted yellow line. I was thinking of passing a slow-moving car in front of me. I had a feeling not to. As I was going around the bend, a transport truck was coming. We would have collided head-on. Glad I listened to that little voice.
Always.
Gil jumps in here and says, my instinct told me that a woman was going to trip while carrying a baby. She did. I managed to catch the baby before he hit the ground. That
was psychic, prognosticative, and also intuition. He listened, he saw, he listened, he conquered.
I agree with you there. Let's get to Linda's. Linda says, I hesitated on a crowded Philadelphia crosswalk. I still don't understand why. The girl next to me was struck and killed. A mere 12 inches made the difference. It was as if a voice in my head said, stop.
Wow. And then she witnessed too. Wow.
Yeah. I mean, the trauma of witnessing that. Tina states, when I was about 16, everyone was going to this party. I thought, nope, not for me tonight. A fight broke out at the party. Police came, and a bunch of my friends were arrested and sent to jail.
Tina's smart.
Jade, who actually was listening to the show and asked you a question tonight, jumps in. She says, many years ago, there was an event in the area that I was living in called Midnight Madness, where all the stores were open for late-night shopping on the main street of town. I was with a couple of girlfriends on a side street and just got a really bad vibe and told them we need to leave and go now. So we did. Later the next day, we found out some unfortunate soul was beat up badly by a gang in that exact same spot we had been the night before, only a few minutes after we left.
Oh, Lord. Wow.
Mark jumps in and says, it's Laurel, not Yanni. Really? You have to bring that in? You have to bring that in, Mark.
Well,
wow.
I've tried. I have listened to his point. I've played that thing and played that thing and played that thing, even when they slowed it down. And I'm trying to hear Laurel. I want to hear Laurel.
I got Laurel.
I keep hearing Yanni.
I got
and I'm
Laurel.
like, why can't, I'm like, why can't I hear it? It's like bizarre and intriguing.
We're going to read one more here. I'm just trying to find a short one that we can sneak in here. Susan, I was walking home from a bartending job in Chicago. I was with my best friend and her future husband for safety. Even though we were close to downtown, I still never felt safe at the age of 18 without a man walking me home. So they did so. We were cutting through an alley to get back to the apartment, and just before we entered, I said to them, don't go in there. Something's wrong. We were hiding behind some garbage cans in a dumpster when two men started having a fight. One ended up beating up the other almost to death. Just that intuition. Mary Dusina, thank you so much for being on Spaced Out Radio tonight, wrapping up our week.
So enjoyable.
Thank
you go get your chi, and everybody else go get your pendulums and your oracles, but always, always, always choose the light and surround yourself with those shields of light and paranormal, supernatural favor.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Mary's website, marydusina.com. Mary, you hold on. I'm going to wrap this thing up. We got Mr. Ron Bumblefoot THAL rocking in the background with Little Brother is Watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Tomorrow night and Sunday, the weekend crew is in SOR headquarters. Joe Roop with Spaced Out Saturdays. Tessa Nicole Thomas with Spaced Out Sundays. Both shows live at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern Time at spacedoutradio.com. A big shout-out thank you to everybody listening at home, in your cars, at work, wherever you may be. And a special thank you to everybody at hashtag Spaced Out Radio on Spreaker, the Periscope chat room, and the Veterans Club, the SOR Space Travelers. Thanks for a great week. Thanks for being with us, sharing our show, talking about us to other people to make us bigger and better, because together, my friends, we own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Good night. Have a great weekend.